Join us in webinar number 218. Since the Andean Health Organization Hipólito Unanue Agreement started the cycle of webinars in May 2020. It is almost 4 years of continuous interlearning since we started this cycle of webinars in May 2020. Today, we are pleased to present the webinar Caring for Our Mother Earth for the Health of the People. We want to highlight a very important concept, positive peace, which is defined as the attitudes, institutions, and culture that create and maintain peaceful societies essential for the well-being of people. We also remember children and adolescents are the present. That is why, from the Andean Health Organization, Hipólito Unanue Agreement, we promote health and rights as a bridge for peace and to achieve socio-environmental health. Reflections such as these can be found in the monthly edition of the Noti Salud Andinas Bulletin, which we invite you to read and which can be found in the webpage of the Andean Health Organization. We invite you to leave your name, organization, and country in the comments box of the Facebook Live or YouTube Live chat. In the same space, you can leave your questions or send them via email to webinarhorasconu@gmail.com. In this webinar, we will follow the usual dynamics. We will start with the institutional greeting, followed by the lectures of our speakers, and then we will move on to the Q&A session. To access the certificate of attendance, as usual, in any of the Facebook Live or YouTube Live chat, you will find a fixed link where you will fill out a brief survey and leave your data as email. Please verify that your email is correctly written for the certificate to be sent. To begin this important day, I give the floor to Dr. María del Carmen Calle, Executive Secretary of the Andean Health Organization, who will give the welcome and institutional greeting. Go ahead, Dr. Calle.
No le estamos escuchando, doctora.
Thank you very much, Bertita. Good morning, good afternoon. The Andean Health Organization Hipólito Unanue Agreement was established by decision of the Ministers of Health of Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela in December 1971. Since May 2020, we have been holding weekly webinars to promote continuous and constant interlearning. We welcome you to webinar number 218, which aims to commemorate the International Mother Earth Day. As is surely known to all attendees, it was in 2009 when the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed April 22nd as the International Mother Earth Day. In doing so, member states recognize that the Earth and its ecosystems are our common home, and in doing so, express their conviction that it is necessary to promote harmony with nature. This Mother Earth Day is the fourth to be celebrated within the framework of the United Nations Decade of Ecosystem Restoration. Ecosystems support all forms of life on Earth. The health of our ecosystem is directly dependent on the health of our planet and its inhabitants. Restoration is everyone's job. Today, we will reflect on the importance of ecosystems for the life and well-being of all, the relevance of ancestral and popular knowledge and practices and the care of Mother Earth and the urgent transformations that we must make according to the conclusions of the Fifth World Assembly for the Health of the Peoples, held from April 7 to 11, 2024, in the city of Mar del Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina. As Roman Vega stated, the Fifth People's Health Assembly is more than an event. It is a milestone for the global health movements. As we come together to share ideas and forge alliances, we are reminded that our collective action is the most powerful medicine. And as Vivian Camacho and Roman will surely show us, it is possible to make changes and move towards a society centered on the care of life. We would like to take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to our luxury speakers and the warmest invitation to our participants to celebrate life with the daily care of our Mother Earth. Because caring for and defending the rights of nature is healing. Welcome. Thank you very much, dear Dr. Mari Carmen, for the opening words. And after the greeting of our Executive Secretary, I introduce myself. My name is Bertaluz Pineda, Coordinator of Climate Change and Inequalities in the Annual Health Organization. And today I will gladly be in charge of moderating this webinar. We would like to welcome Dr. Vivian Camacho. Dr. Vivian is the General Director of Traditional Medicine in the Ministry of Health and Sport of the plurinational state of Bolivia. High-level Commissioner for Alma-Ata 40 years of the region of the Americas, People's Health Coordinator in Bolivia, for representative for the Andean region of the Latin American coordination with the global movement of people's health. Quechua midwife, promoter of respectful childbirth and ancestral midwifery, masters in agroecology and cultures and indigenous development in Latin America. Promote of popular health with peasant communities, indigenous communicator, also medic physician surgeon with specialties in interculturality and health, promoter of ancestral knowledge of indigenous peoples, member of the Center for Research for Indigenous People, and very happily, she's the focal point of the Andean Intersectorial Roundtable for Coordinator Against Health Inequalities and the Andean Intercultural Health Committee of the Andean Health Organization Hipólito Agreement. Go ahead, dear Bibi, you have the floor. Thank you, Bertita. Greetings to the Andean Health Organization that invited us to share our work, our experience. Greetings, Dr. Mari Carmen. Many success in your activities. Thank you, Bertaluz and Marisela. Greetings to our friends who are joining us. A big hug for our dear brother, Dr. Roman Vega from Colombia. I introduce myself. Thank you for the introduction, dear Bertita. Always respecting and proud of my deep roots. Speaking in Quechua language. I'm very happy to participate as part of this event that we are sharing today. To our brothers and sisters from other parts of the world, a big hug, because there's a long way to do to get to the rights of health. And today we are gathering around a topic that we not only work in, but we need to consider urgently for our lives and our territories. from the institutions, but above all from the organized communities, from our own territories, with people from communities, for the farmers preparing food. I'm going to share with you some slides precisely to talk about that I am part of the World Movement for the Health of Peoples. Have you mentioned our World Movement for the Health of Peoples? And then Dr. Roman will go into more depth. Started in Sabra Blanca in the year 2000. People from different areas and continents got together, stating that the Alma Ata Declaration in 1978 in Kazakhstan, there was the people were committed for health for everyone in the year 2000. We need to remember our history. And in health for all for the 2000, but in the year 2000, there was more hunger, more inequalities, and more wars. So people from different continents that were working from their communities to build health in the territories decided to get together in Sabar, Bangladesh, and they was officially launched the World Movement for the Health of the People. I was not able to, I've been lucky enough to meet these people of wise people, committed people for the right of health in 2009 with a scholarship for the International University of Health of the People in Cuba, and as invited professor in Guatemala to share interculturality and health. And 15 years passed by, and for the last 15 years, I am part of this wonderful movement. For the last 15 years, I've met experiences and visited countries, territories, and continents promoting the right to health. And precisely one of the topics that we have coordinated in the Global South, because we have been participating in several meetings. In 2012, I was participating in the Third World Assembly in South Africa. And as Global South, we found a similar discourse of respecting our spirituality, respecting ancestral knowledge, and respecting care of Mother Earth. So I'm going to share with you what I have shared in this last assembly meeting in Mar del Plata, something that we've been working for more than 15 years with several collective communities, groups in different parts of the world. It is an honor for me to start by remembering those who have worked with us in struggle like for the health of people. I'm going to share the ancestral knowledge for the care of life and health. I'm going to cut short my video, but you can see the slides. I'm going to stop my video and continue with the audio. So I would like to present to you this topic that has also presented recently last week. Precisely last Tuesday, we participated in the plenary session in the opening of the assembly with Dr. Pat Anderson from Australia, with our sister Angela from Buenos Aires, a farmer, and Ita Leopoldo from Guatemala, a spiritual guide from Guatemala. In this round table, we share this ancestrality, the strength of the ancestral knowledge and popular knowledge. Just to give you a reference, because we're going to talk about a World Assembly, Dr. Pat Anderson is a physician, a wise grandmother, but she's also a great advocate for the indigenous people because she herself comes from Australia and she's one of the girls that was kidnapped from their homes to be indoctrinated and taken outside the territory so they forget their roots. However, she had the strength of the memory and also when attended university, and we will never forget. And on the opposite, we are very proud to go ahead defending our cultural identity and the defense of our ancestral knowledge. I remember that wonderful roundtable and a homage to Dr. Pat Anderson as a survival indigenous child. I'm going to start this presentation. The health, our most important goal is health is a human right, not a commodity. This is urgent to be recognized because we've seen in so many times and with this global observation of health from Geneva, and we receive data of how health is treated as a commodity in the conflict of interest in the corporations and how we see situations where corporations are profiting from with health. So we defend that the health is a human right, not a conventional health, not academic health, is a right, and also traditional, ancestral traditional medicine. So we cannot allow or shut up when we see how they are being marketed. It should be for the people and by the people. We also defend that healthy food is a human right. So we have because we defend that food is our first medicine, because if the Mother Earth is healthy, we had healthy food, and that is our first remedy. He provides everything we know. The states have to guarantee this right in the health of the people, and with the Latin American Society of Social Medicine. Although our movement has 24 years of age, ALAMES is going to celebrate 40 years, and they also join our world movement as Latin America, and we work for the social determination of health to promote dignity and social justice for our people. And for us as Global South, we need to look beyond the Western hegemonic dominant macroculture. We have our own knowledge. We have sacred places. We have sacred plants. We still have these water sources that has been created by our grandparents. Our Kayawaya brothers as remind us the origin of this word, Sumach. Sumahu is the most beautiful, the good. Kausai is our life. Sumach Warmi is a very beautiful woman. So Sumach Kausai is the best way to live. And this live with respect and reciprocity. Fight the racism and violence that the world is going through, and even to our own people, perhaps in different situations, made us go through this situation. We, with more strength, grab this life for life. Koya Suyo means medicine and people. Bolivia is recognized as Koya Suyo. We have the healers. We heal with ancestral ceremony, with our music, with our clothing, and bring this harmony. We can live in peace. Going to a counter-hegemonic interculturality that denouncing the commoditization of life, but also promoting dialogue of knowledge from the perspective of social justice and also the epistemic justice, as we work with different brothers and sisters from Abayala, because epistemic justice means that the academic, still racist, has to open and listen to the different knowledge, and together we can build, because diversity makes us grow. From the tenderness of solidarity of the peoples who fight and resist. Summa Causai is a balance with a good heart and good thinking and good action to be coherent with life. Remember this, that the land is not, we belong to the earth, so we call it Mother Earth, we call it Pachamama. And there's interpret, you need to slow down, please. So,
Perfecto, muchas gracias Bertita y gracias al doctor Jorge por la interpretación simultánea. Entonces,
so in that regard, each people has its own way of solving from their own structures, knowledge, to build knowledge. Each people understand from their own reality and their capacities and resources. So we need to ask ourselves again, to whom we want to look like. Are we not showing that we know how to live differently, dress differently, eat differently, celebrating life in a different manner, healing in a different manner? We need to remember that we are going towards a time of decolonization together with depatriarchalization, because there are some people who work decolonization but forget about depatriarchalization, because women are still being victims of abuse, violence, of exploitation. So with this, what I want to say, that we remember the strength of Mother Earth, the feminine strength that grows and complements with the masculine strength, because for our people, we complement each other. And in this Peru-Bolivia border, we can see Pachamama, Holy Land, our life is born in you and rests in you, our life. We are your light, we are your body, we are your spirit. Our deep thanks for the life and health of everyone. And there you see a farmer mother with their clothes the same as our grandparents, as the Quechua women wear that need to suffer discrimination and racism. And despite that today, because they are women and they are indigenous, I still suffer different type of attacks. We still have the strength of our ancestors, because remember that we're part of this universe cycle. We have an agricultural calendar that celebrates also death, because it's moved towards the spiritual world. That is what spirituality reminds us. And this spirituality is not for the market. It's not to charge 1,000 for one ceremony to anyone. It's not to profit with our sacred medicines. It's not for people negotiate with ancestral knowledge. It's the ancestral medicine is the force and cultural resistance that we have live people. Our grandparents are blessing us, and they have a deep love for this earth. And in this wonderful song, health is dignity, health is life. No injustice and no humiliation. A thought of its own, our heart, a community free and united. In one paragraph from a popular Mayan ancestral knowledge, we summarize everything that we're working on. In 2012, following the meeting of this in South Africa for a World Assembly, I was able to visit and spend a few months in Chiapas, and this changed my life. To be with brave people where there's no water, there's no food, where there's no roads, they are building health with the greatest possible effort from their own resources and the organized dignity of the people. And this is what we would like to move ahead, reevaluating and dignifying farmers' life. In Bolivia, we have our law that recognizes ancestral knowledge. We need to discuss of what we have accumulated without convincing or with solidarity among us, and with the complementing our knowledge without arrogance, disqualifications. Have very nice examples during the COVID, how I was part of these peoples and indigenous response to COVID-19, where the people care with their own ancestral knowledge and survive COVID. We also have shared with the Andean Health Organization. It's a wonderful example of the Comando Matico. These are several examples. They had these medicinal plants and the ceremonies and care and massage, and with the sacred songs for you, because that is the strength of our people. As a midwife, I'm happy to be able to receive so many newborns, because this is a
y ahora
life,
estamos convocados
grace,
y
and
convocadas a parir un nuevo
today
momento de
we need
normalidad, de
to
cuidado colectivo,
give birth
de
to a new
cuidado
moment at
organizado, de vida
um,
comunitaria, con
humanity,
agroecología,
with community
porque lo
life,
que
with
somos orgánicos
agroecology.
queremos ver como nos
Remember
decía
that we are the
Mahatma
change
Gandhi,
that we
en
want
la
to see,
vida
like
digna y
Mahatma
florecer
Gandhi
de
said,
nuestros
the
pueblos,
dignified
porque
life
nuestra madre
and
tierra,
flourishing of our
Sumapamba,
people
nuestra
because our
mamita, Sumajapa,
Mother Earth,
Pachamama,
the
ella es nuestra más
Pachamama,
bella
is
sanadora,
our
nos
most
da
beautiful
agua limpia,
healer,
aire
give
limpio,
us
alimentos sanos,
clean water, clean
educación
air,
digna,
clean food.
aprendizaje, arte y amor. Para eso necesitamos
For
seguir
that, we need to continue
fortaleciendo
strengthening
nuestras redes, enfrentar el
our networks,
capitalismo que nos da unas
confronting
monedas en el sur y
philanthrocapitalism
pretenden
that
hacer
gives us a few
capitalismo
coins
negro
and
cuando
pretend to
siguen
do a green
envenenando el mundo con
capitalism. We're still
agropetróleo.
poisoning the
Cuando
world.
estábamos en Guatemala el
When we
2010
were in
teníamos
Guatemala in
las ciétegas
2010, there were
contaminadas con mercurio,
huge lakes
gente que dedicaba a la
contaminated
minería o
and
explotación
polluted
de
with
ciétegas asesinada
mercury,
por estas mafias.
and people
Hoy
died because
están
of
en la
this
cárcel. Lo propio
situation.
con los agrotóxicos. Lo
The
propio está ocurriendo con
same is
distintas
happening with
situaciones
different
donde las corporaciones
situations where
entran,
the
saquean territorio,
corporations
están
do
exiliando a las
pillage
personas de
and
sus
are
hogares.
exiling people
Entonces,
from
la
their own
principal organización y fuerza
areas
popular para una salud
and
digna en el
organization and
territorio.
popular
Soy
power for
parte de
effective
medios
health in the
indígenas.
territory.
Soy
I'm a member of
comunitaria de
indigenous
Radio La Chihuana
communication
en
networks.
Cochabamba. Hemos trabajado varios años con los hermanos
We've worked
indígenas
with
en
Radio La
diferentes medios de
Chihuana.
comunicación
We've
indígenas
worked
y
with
seguiremos adelante
indigenous
compartiendo estas
communication media, and
luchas y
we will
estas
continue
luchas.
sharing this
También como
struggle.
comisionada de alto
We
nivel de
also,
las
as
Américas,
a
que se me ha convocado el
commission
2018,
for the
una
High-Level Commission
iniciativa
for
que
the
se
Americas,
sirve
one of my
justamente por la
contributions
salud
was
de la Madre
precisely
Tierra en
to
nuestros
put
documentos.
health of Mother Earth in
Hacemos
these
parte de la
documents.
Biblioteca Virtual
We
de
are
Salud
part
con la red
of
de
the
medicinas tradicionales,
traditional ancestral
integrativas y
medicine,
complementarias
complementary and
amazónicas
integrative
para
medicine
seguir
network
compartiendo estos
to continue
ejemplos.
sharing these
Hemos estado en
examples.
la India
We
justamente
participated in the
representando
World
en
Summit
este
in
momento de
India
inauguración mundial.
when
Ha sido un honor y una
it was an
sorpresa
honor
que me
and a
inviten
big
a
surprise to be
representar
invited
nuestro
to
continente
represent
en el
our
apertorio.
continent in the
Gracias a mis
opening
hermanos y
ceremony.
hermanas que me
Thanks to our
acompañan
brothers
a
and
luchar y
sisters
resistir
that
desde nuestros saberes,
continue
desde
fighting
este
with
mundo
me.
en el que se ha
And
dicho
from
hoy
this
vamos
time,
a
what
cruzar
is
la
said
gente,
that we
es
were going to
puente
be
entre los
born again,
mundos,
the people that
chacarera,
are
es
a bridge
puente
between
de diálogo, es
worlds
puente
with
de
dialogue,
encariñamiento
meetings,
entre el mundo
we,
convencional de la
with the
medicina
conventional
tradicional
world
académica
of
y la medicina
academic
tradicional
medicine and
ancestral,
traditional
siempre
ancestral
de la
medicine,
mano y de la lucha
always
del
together
doctor
with the
Ernesto
struggle
Guevara, que nos ha
of
convocado
Dr.
a
Ernesto Guevara,
recordarnos que la primera injusticia
that the
social
first social
y la primera
injustice,
enfermedad que hay que
the
erradicar
first
es la
disease that we need
injusticia
to
social,
eradicate is
con el
social
ejemplo grande
injustice,
también del doctor
the
Salvador
example
Allende.
of Dr.
Y aquí
Salvador
estamos
Allende.
haciendo parte
And
de
here we
distintos
are being part
movimientos,
of
pero
different
estoy
movements.
orgullosa de ser parte
I'm
de
very
nuestro
proud to
Movimiento
be part
Mundial de
of
Salud de los
our
Pueblos. En
world
Bolivia
movement
tenemos
for the
11
health
años
of people.
trabajando como
We've been
científicas
working in
políticamente.
Bolivia for during
Hacemos parte
11
también
years,
de la red
and we're
de las
also part
universidades de Brasil
of
Internacional
the
y de la
National
Asociación
Brazilian
Latinoamericana de Medicina Social.
Network of
Desde
Social
donde sea que
Medicine.
estemos, les invito a
I
sumarse.
invite
Les
you to
convoco a
join
sumarnos por un mundo justo,
for a
digno y
fair
solidario,
and solidarity
anticapitalista, antiimperialista,
anti-capitalist and
descolonial.
anti-imperialist
Por
and
eso, en nuestra
decolonization world.
asamblea, aquí
That's
nos
why
está
in
Rafael
our,
Román justamente,
we have
aquí están
Roman
mis
here,
hermanos ya para
we
cerrar
have
porque
our
ellos están
brothers and
en
sisters
distintos
on the
continentes
closing
en
of
este
the event
momento
from different
mostrando
continents.
apoyo y
We have a
solidaridad con
strong
Palestina.
presence
Aquí ven a
with
las hermanas de
Palestine.
Australia, de
We here see
África, de
our brothers
Centroamérica.
and
Somos
sisters from
cinco
Australia,
países,
Philippines,
éramos
Central
los cinco
America.
continentes reunidos.
From the
Hemos
5
salido a marchar
continents, we
justamente
marched
para
wisely
visibilizar no solo
to
la asamblea, sino la lucha
visualize
mundial
not
por el
only the
derecho a
assembly,
la
but
salud,
the world
por el
struggle for the
derecho a la
right of
salud
health
contra el sistema corporativo
against
neoliberal
the
capitalista,
capitalistic
porque es health
neoliberal
in
model,
people's hands. La
people
salud del
health in
pueblo tiene
people's
que estar en
hands.
manos del pueblo. Nuestra quinta asamblea
Our
mundial nos
fifth
ha
World
reivindicado esto.
Assembly has
Aquí
gathered
estamos
us for this.
justamente marchando con la
He are
Fundación para la
marching
Esperanza.
within
También soy la
Hope
fundadora de este movimiento internacional de la esperanza,
International
con el que
Movement,
trabajamos desde el
where we've
2016
been
a nivel
working
de
since
instituciones en
2016,
Bolivia. Y también
and
recordar
also
que ha
to remember
fallecido
to
uno de nuestros
conclude
fundadores, el
one of
doctor
our
Safrula
founders, Dr.
Chaudhuri, el
Safrullah
primero que
Chaudhuri,
nos ha recibido
was
el
the
año
first
2000
one
en
who
Sabar,
received us in
Bangladesh.
2000 in
Él
Sabar, Bangladesh.
organizando con los
He
pocos
has
recursos
organized with the
con la
limited
gente que podía
resources
llegar con sus
the people
recursos,
who
porque
could
él
come
sabía
with
que
their own
no
resources,
nos
because I
financia
would like to
ninguna
highlight
corporación
no
ONG,
corporation
no nos
pays
financia
for
ningún
us. We're
banco,
not financed by any
somos
NGO
nosotros
or bank.
mismos que nos
We
organizamos
ourselves
para defender la
organize
salud.
to
Safrula
defend
Chaudhuri ya no está
health.
entre nosotros, sin embargo,
Safullah
su legado
Chowdhury is no no longer with us, but he has a wonderful
Estábamos en
legacy.
Tailandia, el 2013.
In 2013 in Thailand with
Me
Dr.
comentó cómo
Safrula,
había logrado
he told me how he was able to decrease the
índices de mortalidad materno-infantil en
mother and child
no tenía plata,
mortality
no
in
tenía
Bangladesh
recursos
with
para
no money,
levantar
with no
casas
resources,
funcionales
but with
ancestrales.
traditional
Pero si
ancestral
ustedes se
midwives.
hubiesen
My
implementado
dream is to
y
be
se hubieran
continue
desarrollado con
implementing
todas las
ancestral knowledge
herramientas
for
que
the care of
tienen,
health
no para el
of our
negocio, no para
peoples,
el
not
mercado,
for
sino para
business,
la
not for
vida.
the market,
Y
but for
recordando
life.
a hermanos que ya no
And
están
remember, brothers who are no
aquí
longer with us.
en la esquina
Here
superior
in the
a la
upper
izquierda del
left
lentecito está el
corner
doctor
with
Amit
glasses,
Gupta de la
Dr.
India,
Amit Sen
que ha
Gupta from
luchado
India,
mucho para
who
que
fought
los
against
patentes de los
the
medicamentos sean para el
medication
pueblo y
patents, so
no
they
para
are
la
for the
corporación.
people
En
and
la
not
India
for the
tienen una lucha
corporation.
muy grande de
In
eso.
India, they have a
Al otro
major
lado,
struggle in
Dr.
this
Blanco
regard.
con los brazos
To the other
abiertos,
side,
con
with
los
the open
mamadísimos,
arms,
doctor Julio
is
Monsalvo,
Dr.
quien
Julio
es un hermano,
Monsalvo,
compañero, amado, que ya no está
who is
tampoco en
no
este
longer
mundo.
with us.
Por él seguimos adelante con la
We
Internacional de la Esperanza.
continue with the
Abajo de Barbita está nuestro
international
querido,
hope.
queridísimo
In the lower
David
left,
Sanders,
we
que
have
nos ha
David
visitado
Sanders.
el 2012 cuando he
In
participado en Sudáfrica.
2012,
Y de nuestra
we met him in South
Latinoamérica Padre
Africa.
Rojo
And
está
from Latin
Margarita
American Red, we
Posada,
have
quien se encuentra en
Margarita
organizar
Posada,
el Foro
who
Nacional de Salud.
organized the
El
National
pueblo
Forum of
organizado
Health.
para defender su
The
salud.
people
Y
organized to
quiero
defend
cerrar
its
con
health.
esto.
And I would like
La
to finish
principal
with this,
medicina que
that the
tenemos
best
y
medicine
vamos
that
a
we have
volver
is
a recordar que
precisely
la Madre
to
Tierra
remember
ya
that
nos da
Mother
lo
Earth
principal.
gives us the
Agua
most
limpia,
important,
aire limpio,
clean
alimento
water,
sano.
clean
Ella
air,
es
and
nuestra primera sanadora
healthy
y
foods.
en ella se
She
transforman
is the
nuestros
first healer
dolores más grandes,
in
las
our
dolencias que hayamos pasado
pain
en
and
nuestra
violence that
niñez.
we
Y
suffer or we are
ella
suffering.
nos va a
She
acompañar a
transforms
crecer en
it,
este tiempo,
and
a
she's going to
florecer
help us
nuestra familia,
flourish
a florecer
in,
nuestros corazones.
in
Porque
our
no es
hearts,
ningún odio que
because
nos está moviendo,
not,
al contrario,
we're not moved
es
by
ese
hate.
amor
On the
puro
contrary,
que
it's
hace nacer
great
las
love
estrellas, que
that,
hace
that
brotar las semillas, que hace nacer a las criaturas en este
makes
mundo, en
people
este tiempo.
born and
Con mi
make the
palabra
star shine.
mensajera, con todo
With my
amor
word
agradezco
as
el
a
espacio que me
midwife, I
brinda,
thank
Señor.
for the
En
space
el nombre
offered
mismandino de
in the
Jesús,
Andean Health
bendiciones a ustedes
Organization.
que tienen aquí
And
una
here
hermana
you
más
have
que está
another
luchando junto a
sister that
ustedes por
is
la salud de
fighting
nuestros
with
pueblos.
you,
Que nadie tenga que estar padeciendo
so we don't
por
have
tener
to
unos
be
centavos en
suffering
el
because you don't
bolsillo.
have
La salud es un
some
derecho
coins in
humano
your
de
pocket.
todos,
Health is a
todos,
human
no
right,
importa el
and
color de piel,
everyone,
la altura,
disregardless the
de
race,
dónde
the
hemos nacido.
language, the
Pertenecemos a
color,
la vida,
we
somos de
belong
la
to
vida.
life.
No
We are from the
estamos aquí
life.
para medirnos ni
We're
por
not
colores,
here to
ni
measure
quién es
by
más
color
indígena
or
que
who's
otro,
more
quién es
indigenous
menos
than the other
indígena que
or
otro.
who's less
Somos de
indigenous
la
than the
vida
other.
de la Madre Tierra
We
y
belong to the
ella
Mother
nos está
Earth,
guiando
and
en
she's
esta gran
guiding us,
batalla que
and
estamos
it's in
haciendo este
that
día.
family that we're
Gracias,
doing this
Vertita.
event.
Gracias,
Thank you,
Vivi, por la
Bertita.
escucha. Gracias.
Thank you for
Muchas
listening.
gracias a ti, querida Vivi, siempre con mensajes tan potentes desde la
Thank you with this
coherencia.
potent
Nos
message.
recordó
You
los
have
orígenes del
reminded us the
movimiento por
origins
la
of
salud de
this
los
world
pueblos,
movement
creado
for
en
the health of people
2020, y es una
founded in
red que
2020,
reúne a
which is a
activistas
network
diversos del
that
mundo y a
has
organizaciones de la
activists throughout
sociedad
the
civil,
world and civil
instituciones,
society organizations,
universidades y también
university and other
otros agentes
institutions,
que
and a very nice
no es el
message.
odio que
It's not
motiva
hate
estos
that
movimientos,
motivates this movement,
es el
it's
amor
love.
por nuestra madre
It's
tierra.
love for our Mother
Escogió
Earth.
desafíos muy
You have
interesantes
proposed
de
some interesting
justicia
challenges,
ecosistémica en el
epistemic
sentido de
justice,
reconocer
in
los
the sense of
saberes y las
recognizing the
prácticas
knowledge
de
and
nuestros
practices
pueblos
of
indígenas,
our
los
indigenous
saberes y
people
prácticas
and
ancestrales.
ancestral
Nos
knowledge and
recordó también a
practices.
cada
You
uno,
also
cada una,
reminded
somos el
us
cambio que queremos
we are
ser.
the change that we want to
Necesitamos
be.
transformaciones
We
radicales
need
y
radical
avanzar en
transformations
propuestas
and to move in
alternativas.
alternative
Es
proposals.
necesario entender esta
We
crisis
need to understand this
socioecológica solo
socio-ecological
con la
crisis, and
audacia
only
de nuestros
with
movimientos
audacity of
podemos
our and
revertir
boldness of
los
our movement, we
cambios.
could
Muchas
reverse
gracias,
the
querida Vivi. Han
issues.
llegado
Thank you,
muchas
dear Vivian.
felicitaciones.
We have received
Hemos
many
compartido,
congratulations for
también han
the
llegado
ideas that you have
preguntas
shared,
muy
and we
interesantes
have
que le
very
pedimos
interesting
por favor
question. We will please
mantenerlas
ask you
allí.
to
Luego de la
stay in the
ponencia
room.
del doctor
After the
Román vamos
presentation
a
of
dar
Dr. Roman,
apertura a las
we
preguntas que han
will
llegado.
go to the Q&A.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you
Retomamos de nuevo.
once again.
A continuación, con mucha
Now,
alegría, le damos
very
la
happy
más
to
cordial bienvenida al
welcome
doctor Román Vega.
Dr. Roman
Él es
Vega.
médico cirujano,
He's a
graduado de la
physician
Universidad
graduated from the National
Nacional con
University
mucha experiencia
with a lot of experience
magnífica en docencia, en
in
maestría de
teaching,
administración de
has a master
salud,
in health and social
certificación en
security
salud pública,
administration,
en doctorado
a
interdisciplinario
PhD
en
in
ciencias
administration
sociales
from the
y
Hull
humanas
University in
en la
England.
Pontificia Universidad Javeriana, reconocido
He
investigador
is
en
recognized as a
reproducción
Emeritus researcher by the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation of Colombia. Is the former Secretary of Health of Bogota, former leader of the Trade Union Medical Association, ASMEDAS, ANTOC, sin distritales, and the extinct National Federation of Health Workers. He's a researcher, scientist, and professor. He's a member of the Latin American Association of Social Medicine, the Colombian Association of Public Health, and he is currently the global coordinator of the People's Health Movement. Go ahead, dear Roman, you have the floor.
Berta Luz, muchas gracias.
Berta Luz, thank you very much.
Por esta presentación y, por supuesto,
Introduction and, of
por la
course,
invitación
for the
a
invitation to
este webinario hoy
of this webinar
conmemoramos
day when we celebrate the Day of the
por
Earth.
supuesto, también
And of
un
course,
agradecimiento a la
thank
doctora
Dr. Maria del Carmen Calle.
como todos sabemos, secretaria
We know
ejecutiva
is the
de
Executive
Horas
Secretary
Conju,
of the Horas Conju,
Marisela,
Marisela
quien está aquí con
Maliki, who
nosotros.
here
Lo
with
mismo
us.
que a Jorge, a
Same to
Milagros, a Yadira,
Jorge Milagros and
otros
Yadira
compañeros cuyos nombres no
and
puedo
the
identificar.
other people
Un
names I
agradecimiento
can
también
identify. Also,
a quienes
to thank
participan
those who are
de este webinar,
participating in this webinar and
y por
join.
supuesto,
And of
una
course,
felicitación a Vivi
congratulations to
por
Bibi
esa presentación
for that
entusiasta y
enthusiastic
apasionante
militant
frente a los
presentation
desafíos que tenemos en
facing the challenges that we currently
el
have
planeta Tierra.
in the planet Earth.
Quisiera decir que,
I would like to say
bueno, esta presentación,
that this
diálogo que yo voy a
dialogue
hacer,
and this
se va a
presentation
centrar un
is
poco
going to
en
focus
lo que la Quinta
in
Asamblea Mundial
the
de
Fifth World Assembly of People Health
a
contributing
protección del
in
planeta,
terms of
de
protecting
todas
the
y de
planet
todos,
Earth, all the
en
living beings,
particular
in
de
particular
los seres humanos.
human beings.
Esta asamblea
This assembly
logró convocar a más de 60 países,
had more than the participation of more than 60
a
countries
más
throughout
de
the world,
600
more than
personas
600
que
people
participaron
who
presencialmente
participated
desde
on
el
site, in addition
lo
to
hicieron
those
de modo
who
virtual.
joined remotely or
Fue
virtually.
una asamblea
It was
llena
an assembly
entusiasmo,
full of
de
enthusiasm,
optimismo,
of optimism,
de esperanza
and hope,
e inspiradora
and
para quienes
inspiring
sus voces
for
lo
those
han
whose
expresado
voices have
en
expressed
las redes sociales
in
luego de su
social
regreso
networks
de Mar del
once
Plata,
they
Argentina.
return from Mar de Plata,
Fue, como dijo
Argentina.
la doctora María del
As
Carmen,
Dr. Maria del
un
Carmen
hito
mentioned,
no
a
solo para los
milestone,
integrantes del
not only
movimiento
for the
de la
members,
salud de los pueblos,
the health
sino
of the
para
people's
todos
movement,
aquellos que
but
se han
also for all of them
involucrado,
who,
muchos de los cuales
if they're
estuvieron
part or
presentes
not of
desde
that
sus
movement and who were
organizaciones,
present through their
un hito
organizations,
en el
was
sentido
a milestone in the
de
sense
reafirmar
of
la necesidad de
reaffirming
todos
the
no
need
solo
for
de los
the
seres
fight for
humanos,
health, not only for
sino de
human
todos los
beings,
seres
but
vivos,
of the
la
life
existencia
beings
de la vida
and the
en el
existence of
planeta
life
Tierra, que
in
es
planet
la
Earth,
amenaza
which
existencial
is the
que tenemos
potential
actualmente.
threat that we currently have.
Aquí en esa asamblea
In that assembly,
construimos
we built
análisis, compartimos
analysis, we shared
y
experiences,
consensuamos
and we
acuerdos
got
de
to
acción
consensus
que
agreements for
trazan
action
las
that
directrices de
are
lo que el
setting
movimiento
the
de la
guidelines
salud
that
debe
the
hacer en el
movement for the
próximo
health of the
año.
people should do in
Por
coming
supuesto,
years.
fue un evento
Of
de
course, this
mucha
was
solidaridad
an event of
con el
great
pueblo
solidarity
palestino. Quiero
with the Palestine
subrayarlo
people. I would like to
porque
underline
la
that
primera
was
plenaria
the first
de
plenary
esta asamblea
session of this
estuvo
assembly
orientada a
was
expresar
oriented to
nuestra
express
solidaridad
our
con un pueblo
solidarity with
que ha venido
peoples that
resistiendo
have been
de manera
resisting
eh, histórica lo que ha
historically
sido un proceso
what
de
has been
agresión,
a process
de
of
desterritorialización,
aggression
de
and
de limpieza étnica
genocide and
que ha
ethnic
disparado.
cleansing
Todos
that we need
nos
to stop.
expresamos en
We all
solidaridad con el
express
pueblo
our
palestino.
solidarity with the
Van
Palestine people.
a excusarme por el
You're going to
resfrío
excuse
o el
for
frío
the
que todos traemos por el
cold that
fenómeno
we all
del
come,
virus en
perhaps
esta
with the
asamblea
exchange
y
virus in
de
this
los
meeting.
transportes, de modo que van
So
a verme un
my
poco
apologies for this
pronunciarme en el
cold.
sentido
not the condition
Esta
we
asamblea
come back with those
volvió
of the
sobre
event.
algo que el movimiento
Assembly
fue la
also
lucha de
mentioned that the movement for the health of people since its
por más de
origin,
20 años.
that's
Surgimos
more than
en,
20 years,
en Bangladesh, como lo dijo Vivi.
which started in Bangladesh,
Volvió sobre la idea de
it
la
came back
salud
to the
para
idea
todos.
of health for everyone.
Volvió sobre esta idea, pero no
It
solo en términos humanos.
consider this idea again, not only at
En modo más
anthropocentrically,
holístico
but
en
more
todos
holistic
los seres vivos
in
del
terms of
planeta
all
Tierra.
the living
Y
beings
volvió
of the
sobre esta
planet.
idea
And came back to
porque
this idea
el logro de la salud para
because
todos
the
y todas
achievement of health for
ha
everyone
sido una promesa
has
incumplida.
been a promise that was not
Realmente
fulfilled.
lo fue
It
posteriormente
didn't happen in 2000
en
and
los
or
objetivos
later
de
with
desarrollo
the
sostenible
SDGs,
y lo ha sido
and has
en el
been
contexto
in the
de los
context
objetivos planteados por la
of
Comisión
the
de los
goals
Gobernantes
proposed
Sociales de la Salud.
by the
Entonces,
Commission of the
podemos en síntesis
Health
decir
Social Determinants.
que no
We can
hemos
say
avanzado
that we've not made
en
any
lograr
progress in
objetivos
achieving
de una mejor salud
the goals of a better
para
health
todos los seres humanos
for all
y
human
para los
beings
seres vivos.
and for
Y qué
life beings, and that qualities
se
in
han
health
profundizado.
have
Y
worse.
hay muchos
And there
factores,
are
muchos
many
factores, procesos o barreras,
processes or
señor
barriers
comisionado, que explican por
that
qué
can
no
explain
hemos podido
why we haven't been
lograr
able to
salud para todos
achieve
y para
health for all.
todas. Y esas barreras tienen que ver con los
And those
procesos
barriers have to do with the process
de un sistema de
of,
apropiación y
typical of a system of appropriation and expropriation
pero
of
también
resources,
de acumulación
but also
de capital
of accumulation
que
of
coloca por
capital
encima
that is put
de lo que
above
pudiéramos llamar
what
la
we
salud
could
y la
say
vida y
health and
intereses
life
económicos
with economic
particulares fundados en la
economic
idea
interest based on the
de
idea
el beneficio individual.
of individual benefit.
Ese ha sido el
That
centro
has
de
been
un
the
problema que
core
cada
of a
vez
problem
más los científicos,
that
los
more and more
analistas
the
en
scientists and the
distintas
analysts
disciplinas
in different
identifican
disciplines
como la
are
causa
identifying
de la
as
crisis
the cause
ecológica
of the
que
ecological
estamos viviendo,
crisis that we are suffering,
de la depredación
of
ecológica
this
que estamos
ecological
viviendo y que
that we are
tiene
suffering. So
distintas expresiones que vale la
has
pena
different
reconocer
expressions that we need to
en
recognize,
pueblos. Desde la amenaza de la extinción de la
from the threat of the extinction of the
biodiversidad.
sorry, we're having some technical issues with the
muerte
audio
de las imposibilidades para
of the
mantener sus fundamentales para nuestra vida. Y por supuesto, la contaminación.
please stand by that we having some technical issues with audio.
Aparece cada vez más en la agenda global. El calentamiento
Global warming
estamos viviendo. Todas
that we are
estas son
suffering.
expresiones de un fenómeno.
These are expressions of a common
Y
phenomenon.
estas expresiones de ese
And this
fenómeno
expression of this has serious consequences in the health of living beings
más
more and more.
sometidos a
We
procesos de hambrunas
process of
para
famine
unos más que para otros,
more from some
a
groups than
problemas
from others,
pandemias y
to
epidemias
pandemics and
cada vez
epidemics
más frecuentes
more and more frequent,
y por supuesto
and of course,
dificultades generadas
difficult
dificultades de migración y conflictos
generated through
generadas por
migrations, by
dinámicas que
conflicts
se
generated
conocen
by
ahora como las
dynamics,
sequías, las
drought,
inundaciones,
flooding, and frequent storms,
y, por supuesto,
and of
problemas
course,
que tienen que ver
issues that
con
have
las
to do
dificultades para que hagamos producir
with
para
difficulties
alimentarnos
in the
o
production of
dificultades
food
para hacer que la
and
tierra
difficulties
sea
to make
habitable,
the soil
sea
can
hay
be
fenómenos frecuentes, cada vez más insidiosos y visibles, que fueron analizados en la Asamblea Mundial
issues
de
that were
Salud
analyzed in
2022
this World Assembly
desde distintas perspectivas
from
del
different
conocimiento, de los
perspectives
saberes, de las
of the
experiencias
knowledge
de los
and
participantes, de las
experiences of the
participantes.
participants.
Pero en reconocer estos fenómenos con
But
este
by
impacto
recognizing
negativo en la
these
salud, se puede
phenomena
también
that have a negative impact health was also discussed in the assembly
contextos
to,
causales profundos
and to
de cada
identify these
fenómeno.
processes that are behind this
Entre
phenomenon.
esos procesos
And among
causales
those
profundos están
causal phenomena,
cada vez
we
más
have
grande
the more
tendencia
and more
hacia el
greater trend
crecimiento
towards
de la
the
producción y del
growth in
consumo
production and
como
consumption
fuentes de la
as
acumulación
leverage
de
for
capital en manos
accumulation
privadas.
of capital in private
Este
hands.
fenómeno de el aumento de la producción y del crecimiento
The increase
como
of
que
production
come
and growth
variantes
with
ha traído como
some variables
consecuencias
have generated
inconmensurables
severe
en
impacts
el uso de los recursos
in the use
naturales renovables
of renewable
con
natural resources and non-renewable
procesos
resources,
extractivistas, todos ellos
extraction process, all of
que
them
han venido destruyendo
that
la
have been
naturaleza,
destroying nature,
cambiando las relaciones armoniosas y
changing
equilibrios
the
entre los
balanced,
seres humanos
harmonious
y la
relationship
naturaleza,
between human beings and
generando dinámicas
generating
de disrupción, de ruptura de lo que
disruption
algunos
dynamics
llaman
of what
el
some people
metabolismo social,
call
el
social
equilibrio entre las actividades
metabolism, the
y el
balance.
mundo natural del cual somos parte, como lo ha dicho Viviana.
We are having some technical issues with the audio. Please stand
Se
by.
expresan en la extracción de nuestros recursos minerales, de los combustibles fósiles y de otros recursos no
And from other non-renewable resources,
sino que dejan ser territorios invadados por estas dinámicas extractivistas. Pero igualmente, las actividades económicas que tienen como foco los recursos de la tierra renovables, por ejemplo, las actividades de agricultura industrial intensiva, vienen destruyendo importantes ecosistemas que tienen que ver con la reproducción de la vida en el planeta Tierra. Entre ellos,
Román, perdón, lo
los que
interrumpo.
tienen que ver con la vida biodiversa, por ejemplo, de procesos de polinización. No
Querido,
te escucho, ¿verdad?
sí, le estamos escuchando entrecortado. Tal
Sí,
vez
hay
si
un...
cierra la cámara, tal vez podríamos escucharle mejor.
Ok, voy a tal vez un tema de internet
Tal
en mi
vez.
casa, pero voy a tratar.
perhaps with my internet connection.
¿Se escucha mejor allí?
Can you hear me now?
Sí, le estamos
Yes,
escuchando mejor, sí.
go ahead.
Esperemos que se oiga mejor. Entonces decía que
So I was saying that
la degradación y la crisis
the
ecológica tienen que ver con
ecological crisis
la
have to do
destrucción de los
with
recursos
the
naturales
destruction
renovables como
of
consecuencia de
renewable
procesos agrícolas
We continue having some technical issues with audio. Please stand by.
El uso de pesticidas, el secamiento de la estatal de los bosques para la producción de monocultivos, la extinción de seres vivos como los insectos, entre otros, que dificultan la polinización y la reproducción de la vida, por ejemplo, no solo de los insectos, sino de la vegetal en su conjunto. De modo que tenemos una serie de fenómenos que expresan lo que por distintas perspectivas. Pero detrás de todos estos procesos económicos están dinámicas de aceleración de la producción y del consumo, expresadas en experiencias de crecimiento económico posibilitadas en distintos momentos de la historia, de saqueo de recursos naturales, que son los que explican toda esta crisis planetaria que estamos viviendo actualmente. Y esos fenómenos son fenómenos que tienen que ver con el modelo, con el modo de apropiación de producción que llamamos capitalismo, porque hay que darle un nombre, porque lo tiene. Y con instrumentos imperiales usados a nivel de la asamblea. No solo fueron analizados, sino que también se buscó encontrar caminos, ya no solo para resistir, como se había planteado en las asambleas previas del Movimiento de Salud de los Pueblos, sino para salir de la crisis ecológica y de la crisis de desigualdad económica en que estamos. Y esos caminos pueden ser identificados. Yo voy a referirme a algunos de ellos porque me parece que de eso se trata cuando se construye un movimiento de la naturaleza del Movimiento de Salud de los Pueblos. En primer lugar,
In the first place, we believe that it is possible to build a different economic system that is able to control the growth, the infinite growth trends in a planet that is finite, has a limit to support the growth. We know one cannot do it. It cannot do it because the accumulation of capital is supported in an infinite growth that is measured through the GDP as an indicator of development. We need to overcome that logic, and that implies democratic economic systems can be and in function of the protection of nature, of life in the earth, and in function of limiting the growth, existing growth trends that have behind them dynamics of destruction of economic crisis. Processes like this one of planning, production, and control production and consumptions are not possible under the market logics that have no control. We have given the name in our movement of the health of the peoples to that system, the name of eco-socialism, for two reasons. But it is not possible to think in terms of development and growth if it's not ecologically sustainable. And number two, there's no model in this regard that would allow planning of that sustained growth that is not in the hands of producers and organized as a community with
modo
solidarity,
y que resuelva,
and that will
dependerá
solve
de que
the
el crecimiento
idea
y el desarrollo
that growth and
no se
development
de
is in function
intereses
of the individual
individuales
interest.
egoístas. De eso se trata. No es
That
posible
is what it's all about.
cambiar el
It is
tema
not
de la
possible
desigualdad actual
to
sin
deal
un
the
modelo de
current
desarrollo.
crisis with
El
without a
segundo
model of this
elemento,
type.
la Asamblea
The
discutió
second element
y
that the
discutió
Assembly
muy
discussed
ampliamente, no por primera vez,
intensively,
porque ya lo
not for the
hicimos
first
en
time because we did
Cuenca,
this
en la
before in
Asamblea del año
Cuenca
2004, la
in
segunda Asamblea
2004
de la Salud
during
de
the
nuestra
second assembly,
fue el enfoque del
was
buen vivir.
the
El enfoque
approach
del buen
good
vivir
living,
rescatado de las
rescued
tradiciones
from
y de la
the
cultura de nuestros pueblos
tradition and culture
indígenas,
of our
todos los
indigenous
pueblos
people
indígenas
and the ancestral and
de nuestros
traditional
pueblos
cultures,
indígenas, como lo ha planteado Viviana.
as Viviana
La
mentioned.
idea del buen vivir
The idea of
como
good living
relación armoniosa
as an
entre los
harmonic
seres vivos,
relationship
parte
between
la
human
madre
beings
tierra y la naturaleza,
and the Mother
misma,
Earth and nature,
como
fundamental,
horizonte
as a
estratégico de una
strategic
nueva
horizon
cultura, de una
of a
nueva
new
visión
culture,
de
a new
la
vision
convivencia humana
of
con
human
la
living
naturaleza, como
with
parte de la
nature.
naturaleza. No es posible tener una
It
fuente
is not
inspiradora
possible to have an
más
inspiration
interesante que la
source
idea del buen
more
vivir que no
interesting than the
solo
idea of good
se
living
discute
that
y
is
se
not only
practica en nuestros
discussed
pueblos
and practiced
originarios de
in
América
our
Latina y el Caribe, sino
ancestral and
también
originary
en otros
peoples
pueblos
of Latin
nativos.
America and the Caribbean, but it also in other peoples throughout
De
the
modo
world.
que allí encontramos
So
un
there we
elemento de
find
convergencia
an element of
entre un planteamiento de
an
una
element of
nueva
convergence
política de
between
desarrollo
the proposal of a new
económico
development model
y una
for
inspiración no solo
economic
filosófica, sino
development
también práctica y vivencial,
with
si lo
a
tomamos en cuenta.
practical
No
uh,
por
solution such
coincidencia,
as good
el
living.
lema de la Quinta
Not
Asamblea
the
Mundial de la
motto
Salud
of the
fue
Fifth
un proclama
Assembly
haciendo de
was
la salud para todos nuestra lucha por el buen vivir.
making health for
Reafirmamos
everyone our struggle
entonces
for good living.
estos
So
valores
we
y estos
reaffirm
principios
values, these principles
fundamentales para
that are
proteger el
fundamental
planeta.
to
Creo que
protect
estamos
Mother
otra
Earth.
vez con un problema de
I
inestabilidad.
think we have an issues with the internet.
Pero el tercer elemento que me parece
Doctor, querido doctor Román, me dice
Dr.
experto
Roman,
y técnico que si
our
es
technician,
posible usted se
if
haga
it's
más cerca a
possible
su wifi y más
to
cerca al micrófono.
get closer to the Wi-Fi,
Maravillosas las ideas que nos está
you
compartiendo, pero a veces se le está
but
escuchando como
sometimes we cannot
entrecortado.
hear you
Mm.
adequately.
bueno, estoy más cerca del micrófono y
Well,
más
now
cerca
I'm
del micrófono
closer
porque hay
to
un
the
problema aquí de
Sí,
internet
ahí le escuchamos mejor,
and
sí.
go ahead.
Y recordarle que como tenemos interpretación simultánea, entonces
And
también despacio, querido doctor.
Sí, vamos despacio. El tercer elemento
the third
de la
element
discusión en la
proposed
Asamblea
the discussion
fue
during this
la
assembly
idea de
was
decolonialidad.
the idea of
Nosotros
decolonization.
tenemos como
We have,
latinoamericanos muy
as
presente
Latin Americans,
que sufrimos un
that we
proceso
have suffered a
de
process
conquista y
of
colonización
conquest and
que
colonization
prácticamente llevó a la idea
that
de que
lead
no
us to
éramos
the
seres
idea that
humanos,
we were not human
que
beings,
éramos eh,
that we
unos
were
otros seres
other
desde la
beings.
visión eurocéntrica
From the
que
Eurocentric
teníamos
vision, we're
y que siendo no
non-humans.
humanos
And by
podíamos
being
ser
non-humans,
convertidos en
we could
objetos
be
de
converted
una
into
dinámica
objects of
colonizadora
a
de
colonization dynamic
esclavizamiento,
of
de
slavery,
saqueo de los recursos
pillage of
naturales, de
natural
derecho
resources
colonial,
in the
etc.
colony,
Pero
etc.
nosotros,
But
desde nuestra práctica,
we
luchamos contra el colonialismo
we are
y
struggling
pudimos
against and
independizarnos
fighting against
de
colonialism,
España. Sin
and
embargo,
we were able to
los poderes
get
coloniales
independence from
de ese
Spain.
periodo, sin embargo, caímos
However, we fell
siendo independientes
being
en
independent
una nueva fase de
in a new phase of
neocolonización y con el
neocolonization,
neocoloniaje
with
de
neocolonialism
extracción a
of
mansalva de los
the
recursos
action
naturales, de
of natural
privatización de
resources,
nuestras economías.
privatization of our economies. And
se
together with that,
mantuvo y se ha mantenido
we
todo este
maintain
tiempo
and
la
has been maintained all
imposición
this
de
time
una
the
cultura
imposition of a
eurocéntrica,
Eurocentric
un
culture
enorme poder colonial
with a
en
large
todas las
colonial power
expresiones de
in
nuestra
all
existencia
the
desde la
expressions of
educación,
our
la
existence,
comercialización,
in,
las
from
prácticas de
education,
producción y
research,
producción.
consumption
De modo que
practice, production
estamos
practices.
en la necesidad, y
So
esto
we
quedó
are
claro
in the need,
públicamente en la
and that
Asamblea,
was clearly
de
expressed during the
generar un
assembly,
proceso
that we need to
desarrollista
generate
de nuestras
a
políticas de Estado,
pro-
de las
and this
políticas del cuidado de la madre
and upon
tierra, salir de la
caring for the Mother Earth and get away from the
de
idea, as Viviana
capitalismo
mentioned,
verde
of
a
green
la
capitalism
idea, por ejemplo, de una producción
to
que
a
evite esa ruptura
production that would
entre
avoid that
sociedad y
rupture
naturaleza que
between
está planteado
society
por
and
el
nature
capitalismo.
that has
Estamos
been
entonces
proposed by
construyendo en la
capitalism.
Asamblea Mundial de la
So
Salud
in
del Pueblo
this
en Mar del
World
Plata una
Assembly in Mar del
triple
Plata, we are building
convergencia
a triple
entre el
convergence
ecosocialismo
between the idea of
y la
eco-socialism, good
decolonización.
living, and
Y
decolonization.
la Asamblea vio claramente
And
que los
the Assembly
poderes
saw
mundiales
very clearly that
detrás
the world powers
de
behind
estas ideas
the
capitalistas,
capitalistic,
coloniales,
colonialistic
depredadoras de la naturaleza son el capitalismo
predators'
y
ideas
los
of
liberales.
our
Y por eso la
capitalism and
Asamblea
imperialism, and
hace
that's
un
why
alto
this assembly is a
en el sentido de
political milestone
identificar
in the
la
sense of
lucha por la
identify
salud para
in
todos y
our
todas
struggle
de
for health
manera
for everyone
humanamente
and for
posible,
struggle for life will be
sin
possible,
alinear
will not be possible without
solamente
aligning
ayudar,
the
contribuir en
struggle
el
of the
campo,
peoples
sino alinear la
and
lucha de los pueblos contra estos poderes
against
que va
these
a hacer imposible
powers.
un nuevo modo de existencia y
We
de
have a new way of
convivencia, de
existence
preservación del
in living
planeta.
together and
No
preserving
podremos
Mother Earth.
enfrentar
We will not be able to face
las dificultades para
these
alcanzar la salud
difficulties
para
to
todos y todas
reach health for
y
everyone.
la amenaza de
And the
la continuidad de la
threat
vida
of
en el planeta
continuing
Tierra si
life
no
in the
encontramos
planet Earth
estos
if
poderes
we don't
progresivos. La
face
Asamblea
these powers.
traza esa ruta de
Assembly
manera muy
has
clara,
set
pero
the
además
path,
dice
but
algo
also
muy
has
bien
stated
interesante, con
something
esto
very
quiero terminar
interesting,
para que
and
haya
with this I
permiso
will
para
conclude.
dialogar. La acción,
The
que es
action,
el llamado que hace
this
la
call
Asamblea,
made by the
es
Assembly
la de
is
forjar
to
procesos
the
de
create
convergencias de los
convergent
movimientos
process of
que nos
these movements
identificamos con estas
that
ideas y que en
that
América
identify with this
Latina
idea.
esa dinámica
In
está
Latin
funcionando.
America, this
Han
is
llegado a
already
acuerdos con el Movimiento
i- i-
Agroecológico de América Latina
in
Mayor
process
al
to
propiciar
come to agreements and to
encuentros
promote
de entidades de
m-
sentido de
meetings
movimientos
and
económicos
identity with movements and
solidarios
economies that have
y sociales
solidarity and
para
social,
generar convergencias con los
generating
movimientos que
convergence
luchan por
with
la
the movements
soberanía
that fight
alimentaria
for the
y
food
nutricional
sovereignty and
contra
nutritional
todas las
sovereignty
tendencias
as
de la
against the trends of
agroindustrialización de
agroindustrialization
poner en manos de las transnacionales
and to
los
put in hands
sistemas
of the
alimentarios,
food systems in
siderúrgicas y
transnational companies
financieras.
and financial
Y por
capital.
supuesto, la
And of course,
convergencia con
the
las luchas de los
convergence with the
movimientos
struggle of
indígenas, de
the
los
indigenous
montoneros, de los
movements,
campesinos, de
and the
las
farmers'
comunidades
movements, and the
que
community
practican una concepción de
practice
salud
a
que
conception
denominamos
health
de
that
la
we
mano
call
de las comunidades, como fue
together with community,
enfatizado
as it was
y puesto con
emphasized
mucho énfasis en la Asamblea de Mar del Plata, en la
in the Mar
experiencia
de
de
Plata
movimientos
Assembly.
como la
The
ITIC,
experience of movements from Argentina, from the South Cone,
el
what
Movimiento
we
de
call
la Salud de los Pueblos, la
health
región Julio Monsalvo, en
people
honor a Julio, como
in
fue
Julio
denominado.
Monsalvo region.
Pero además de ello,
In
las
addition,
luchas de los
the
movimientos
struggle of the
ecofeministas
movements
que hay que poner en
ecofeminists
el centro de la
that need to
lucha
be placed in the
por el vivir, que
center
por un
of the
lado
fight for good
permanezca
living
protegido
for a
de la
planet
depredación
Earth
de
that's
los
protected
procesos
against
económicos capitalistas y las dinámicas imperiales. Yo
dynamic
creo que esto fue el
imperialistic
Acuerdo
dynamics.
Mundial de la Salud de los Pueblos a grandes trazos,
This is
el
in
llamado a la acción que
the call
publicamos,
for
que
action that
tiene
we will publish
detalles en
as the
distintos ámbitos,
details
entre ellos
in
este
different
llamado,
areas
el de la
that we have analyzed today, protecting Mother Earth, but also that was the assembly. It was a vibration of thought, of emotion, generation of hope,
yo creo, generación de nuevas energías.
the generation of new energies of those who participated in this assembly Mar de Plata.
Continuaremos entonces, como
We
dice
will
la
then
compañera
continue,
Figueras, seguiremos
we will
esta
continue
lucha con mayor convicción,
with
con
more
una
conviction,
visión estratégica
with a
clara
more
y
clear
con una
strategic vision, and
apropiación de la
with
necesidad
an
de
appropriation of the need to generate
solidaridad
unity and solidarity
que nos permitan
and action
enfrentar
process that will allow us
que
to
destruyen el planeta
face those powers who are destroying the planet and threatening our life and health.
Magnífica presentación.
Wonderful
Román,
presentation, dear
felicitaciones.
Roman.
Han llegado muchos
Congratulations.
comentarios
We have many
positivos
comments,
sobre
many
lo que nos
positive
acaba
comments
de
of
decir.
what
Nos
you just
recordó que la quinta
presented. You
Asamblea Mundial por la Salud
reminded
de
us that
este
this fifth
país,
assembly for
que
the
se
health of
hizo del
people
7 al 11 de abril de este
last
año en
April,
Argentina, fue
this
un
April in
evento de
Argentina
solidaridad
was
por la
a
vida por
solidarity
el pueblo
event for
palestino
life and for the
y que
Palestinian
allí
people,
en esta
Palestine people.
asamblea
And in
con
this
muchos
assembly,
participantes de todo el
with
mundo se
several
estableció
participants around
una
the world,
relación
we
que
established
les
a relationship
solventaba
between the
las
environmental
desigualdades que se
problems
veían
and the
cada vez
inequalities
más y
that
son
get
más
worse
evidentes
and
en
worse
nuestra región
and are
como
more
modelo
evident in our region.
extractivista. Este modelo
Extractivist developing
extractivo
model
fue uno de los temas centrales
was
de la
one of the
asamblea
core
y por eso se
topics of the
estableció
assembly,
un hito
and that is why they
triple
propose a
convergencia
triple convergence as
entre
a
la necesidad
ecological
de
milestone
un
with the
nuevo
need
ecosistema
of a new
ecosocialista,
eco-socialistic
ecológicamente sostenible,
system that's
resguardar
ecologically
los
sustainable
saberes y prácticas
and to rescue the
ancestrales,
practice and ancestral
la
practices and knowledge
filosofía, modo de vida
and philosophy
ecológico
and way of
y la
life of good
necesidad de
living
generar
and the need
procesos de
to generate
de
colonization
colonización para asegurar
processes
extracción
to
de
overcome
recursos
the extraction
y
of
otros
resources
problemas
are
grandes que tenemos
major.
en la región. Reiteramos las
We
felicitaciones por las
congratulate
ideas
you once again for the
compartidas.
idea that you
El
have
doctor
shared.
Hani Serat se ha excusado
Dr.
porque se
Niserat
le
has
presentó
excused
un
himself
problema de
because he had
última
a
hora.
last minute
Nos dijo
issue.
que estaba plenamente
He
convencido
was
de lo
fully
bien que se
convinced
haría
of
este evento con la
this event
representación de
was
Vivi y
appropriately
ampliamente de
represented with
Román.
Vivi
Queremos
Roman.
agradecerle a todas
We
las
would like to
personas
thank all the
conectadas
people
de los
connected
ministerios
from
de
the
salud,
Ministry
de
of
la
Health,
academia, diversas
academia,
entidades y
various entities and
organizaciones
social
sociales de
organizations
Argentina,
from
Belice,
Argentina,
Bolivia,
Belize,
Chile,
Bolivia, Chile,
Colombia, Cuba,
Colombia,
Ecuador,
Cuba,
España,
Ecuador, Spain,
Guatemala, Inglaterra,
Guatemala,
México,
UK,
Nicaragua,
Mexico,
Paraguay,
Nicaragua,
Perú,
Paraguay,
Uruguay,
Peru,
Venezuela,
Uruguay,
entre muchos
Venezuela,
otros
among
países
many other countries
y muchas otras
and many
organizaciones.
other organizations.
Para la actividad que sigue, vamos a
We
darles
are going
algunos de los
to
comentarios y preguntas que
give
hemos
you some of the
recibido.
questions and
Quiero
comments that we have
resaltar
received.
este
For example, we
comentario
have this
que no hay
comment
políticas de
that there are
responsabilidad
no
del medio ambiente
policies for
suficientemente audaces en la
sufficiently
región.
bold
Toda la
policies for the care
naturaleza
of the
está contaminada
environment.
con
All
plásticos,
the
con
nature,
desechos,
all our
la
nature is
minería
contaminated and polluted with
durante cada
plastics
vez
and waste, and the
contribuye también
agriculture
mucho
and
por
livestock are
tamaño a los
contributing
problemas ambientales.
to
Pero ¿de
the
dónde vamos a
environmental
obtener
issues.
los
But
alimentos
where
para
are
el
we
mundo
going
de
to
una
get the
manera
food for the
sostenible?
world in a sustainable manner?
Nos dice otro comentario que en
Another
Cuba,
comment is
para
that
el
in Cuba,
enfrentamiento del cambio
in order
climático,
to
el Estado
fight the
creó,
climate
entre
change, the
comillas,
state
ENSE,
created quote
que
unquote
representa
task
una
and
gran
life, which
oportunidad para
represents an
encauzar el
opportunity
desarrollo sostenible,
to
garantizar la
organize
seguridad física,
sustainable development and
agraria y el
guarantee
desarrollo
physical
económico del país.
safety, food
Nos
security,
han
and
llegado
economic
muchas
development of the country.
preguntas que
We
he
have many questions
sistematizado
that I have
básicamente en los tópicos
systematized
centrales
with the
y para ganar un poco de tiempo
core topics.
le voy a dar los
So
siguientes
I'm going
tópicos
to give
a
you the
Vivian,
following
a
topics
Vivian
to
y
Vivian
los otros
and
a
the other
Román.
ones to
Por
Roman.
ejemplo, querida
For
Vivian,
example, dear Vivian,
respecto a todo
with
lo que se ha
regards to
comentado,
everything that
hacer
has
una
been
reflexión
commented,
sobre
could you make
soluciones
a
ecofeministas
reflection of the ecofeminist
también
solutions
una reflexión sobre
and
la
some insights
necesidad de
regarding the
fortalecer
need
el diálogo
to
político
strengthen
y
political
generar
dialogue
soluciones
and to
basadas en la
generate
naturaleza.
solutions based in
Para
the
Román,
nature.
de una vez para que
For
vayamos
Roman,
comenzando, nos piden,
we
por favor,
ask you
profundizar sobre
to
propuestas
comment
de
in more
soberanía
depth
financiera.
in proposals of financial sovereignty
Las propuestas tan interesantes
for
que hemos
those interesting
contemplado.
proposals that you've
También
commented.
nos pide que
They're
comente
also
sobre
asking
cómo
us to comment
reclamar
on
mayor
how
responsabilidad
to
y
ask for more
y
responsibility for the
también
global north
mayor gobernanza.
and
Le
have
cedo la
more
palabra, por
governance.
favor, adelante.
So you have the word, have the floor
Muchas
now.
gracias. Bueno, por alusión voy a
Thank you.
comenzar.
Well, I will
Una alegría
start.
siempre escuchar
It's
al
always
querido
happy to
colega
hear
y
our dear
compañero del
colleague,
Movimiento Mundial de Salud de los Pueblos, nuestro coordinador
our
global, el doctor
global
Román Vega.
coordinator, Dr.
Muy buenos
Roman
días.
Vega.
¿Tienes a
I'm
conmigo, querido
proud to
Román?
share
Y
this
también el año
round
pasado
table with
en
you.
Tailandia hemos compartido un
And last
gran
year in
inauguración,
Thailand, we
uno
shared
de los
an
eventos más
in
grandes
opening
de la
plenary of one of the
región Asia, que ha
largest
sido el Conference
events
Heart,
of
donde
Asia,
también hemos seguido impulsando estas
where we
grandes
were
nuevas propuestas.
proposing
En
these
aquel momento planteábamos cómo
looks,
íbamos a llegar a nuestra
and
asamblea.
we were
Y es
asking ourselves how we're
increíble que
going to reach out
estamos
to our
poniendo las
assembly.
cosas en
And it's
marcha.
amazing that we
Eso es lo
just
que nos
completed
emociona
this
porque
assembly
ante los desafíos que hemos tenido que
because
solventar,
facing the
pues
challenges that we need to overcome,
se ha llevado adelante nuestra asamblea
we
con
were
una
able
visión
to
clara y
organize
prístina.
our
Y
assembly with great
respondiendo a las
solidarity for
preguntas,
Palestine.
justamente es
And
esto.
responding to
El
questions,
tema, como ya ha comentado el doctor
as
Román, el
Dr. Roman
ecofeminismo como un
mentioned,
movimiento libre. Hay
ecofeminism,
muchas mesas en
there
nuestra
was
asamblea,
many
temas
roundtables in our
ligados en
assembly
distintas tendencias, pero
from
la mesa
different trends,
ecofeminista ha estado
but the
abierta. Incluso
ecofeminist
aprovecho de
roundtable
saludar
was
a Lupe
wonderful.
Guadalupe, que ha ido de
And I
Bolivia,
would
que se
like
le
to
ha hecho
greet
una
our
nota en Pagina
sister
12 ayer,
Lupe
muy linda de su
that
participación en la
attended
asamblea,
and she
también como
participated
gran
in this
feminista
assembly
de nuestra Avia Yala.
as a
También ha
feminist
participado la hermana Claudia Corol,
and
que
also
nos ayuda
Hermana
en esta
Claudia
campaña de
Corol
Avia Yala,
from
y otras
Argentina,
feministas maravillosas que vamos acompañando.
that we're going to share.
Entonces,
So
desde ahí, desde nuestros cuerpos de
from
mujeres, desde nuestro
our
cuerpo territorial que
women's
remarcamos
bodies,
siempre como hermanas que
our
venimos de la
body
comunidad, como
territory,
hermanas que venimos
as sisters that we
siempre
come from the
creciendo,
community
también
and the
recordar que
farming sector,
necesitamos nosotras
to
mismas
remind us that we
nuestros
need to
cuerpos, nuestras
retake
vidas,
our
nuestros
bodies,
tiempos,
our
nuestros
lives, our
movimientos, nuestros
time, our
ciclos,
rhythms,
la
our
salud del
cycles,
alimento en nuestras manos.
health
Hay
in
una
our
hermana
hands.
portuguesa linda, una
As a
gordita que pasó por
wonderful
Bolivia hace
Irish
como
sister that came to
4 o 5 años,
Bolivia,
Judith Holt. Ella
Judith
nos
Holt.
enseñaba que la
She was
medicina tiene
teaching
que
us
estar de
that
regreso en la
medicine
cocina,
has to be
que
back
el
in the
poder de lo
kitchen,
cotidiano, de
that
la
the power
crianza
of the
particular, del cuidado
daily
es
taking
colectivo
care
y
is
hace
collective
más allá de los roles de género,
beyond
es
the
el
gender
cuidado
roles.
colectivo
Is
que
the collective
necesitamos seguir
care that we
fortaleciendo.
need to
Y
continue
esa necesidad
strengthening,
de diálogo político
and that need
justamente
for
es
political dialogue
cuando
is
se trata
precisely that,
solamente de tendencias
not
políticas,
only
reorientar
political trends,
qué
but to
propuestas tenemos
reorient
para el
what
cuidado de
proposal
nosotras.
we have for the care
¿Desde
of
dónde
life.
estás proponiendo tú
And where are
esta
you
propuesta?
proposing? What
No
is
vas a
your
decir yo
proposal?
soy mejor que
It's not
tú
just to say I'm better than you,
o tú no
I do
sirves
things
para
better
hacer
than
nada,
you,
sino cómo
but
hacemos juntos,
instead we need to
cómo
work
vamos
together.
hacia
How are we
juntos
going to make
esta
things
tarea, este
together,
desafío de
face
tener
this
ecosistemas
challenge of
sanos,
having
sanos,
wise
sanos,
ecosystems
saludables,
that are
como nos decía
healthy,
Julio Monsalvo en Salud de
as Julio
Ecosistemas,
Monsalvo
en nuestra
mentioned
Beata
in the
Taurus,
health of
¿cómo vamos a
ecosystems.
construir? Y Julio nos plantea la
And
semana de
Julio
esperanza. Agua
says
limpia,
A of
aire
hope,
limpio,
water,
alimento
clean
sano,
water,
albergue como vivienda digna,
clean air,
aprendizaje, arte y
housing,
cultura. Esta es una
learning,
de las
love,
líneas,
and
es la
art.
alegría que estamos trabajando
This
desde
is what
siempre
we are
en
working
Bolivia.
with Alegremia
Entonces,
in
cualquier
Bolivia.
solución que
So
pretendamos que
any
sea basada en
solution
la
that we
naturaleza tiene
pretend
que
to
ser
be
desde
based on
los
nature
pueblos,
has to
por
be
los pueblos,
from the peoples and
desde
for
los
the
pueblos que
peoples,
están buscando su
from the
propio
peoples that are
camino,
looking their
su
own
sendero de
path,
cómo seguir
their
adelante.
own
Ahí,
of
como
how to
dice
move
esa
ahead.
canción linda de los
By
hermanos
song that
zapatistas, bueno,
song of the
de esa salud
Zapatist
zapatistas,
brothers,
una comunidad libre y unida.
a
Eso hace
community
parte de
that's free
construir
and
salud.
united.
Y
That's
realmente
part
de
of
nada va a
building health.
avanzar si
And we
todavía
will not
seguimos
make any progress if we
culpabilizando al
continue
humano.
blaming
Hay gente
the
que pide
humans.
el ecofascismo, porque hay
People
una
in the
tendencia ecológica fascista
ecofascism
que te dice,
that
es el
tells
humano el
you
que tiene
that
la
it's the
culpa.
human that's
Entonces
to blame.
culpabilizan a nuestros
So they
pueblos
blame
por
our
cocinar
people
con leña. Bueno,
because
sí,
we
tú
cook
estás contaminando
with
por cocinar
fire,
con leña y este
with
absurdo
logs, and
mirar
this
ecofascista que pretende
this absurd look
culpabilizar a
as
la
the
humanidad no es
ecofascist to
nada más y solo
pretends to blame
sencillamente que
humanity. It's not just
quien está
another
destruyendo realmente el
capitalistic
ecosistema no es
bias.
nuestro hermano y hermana que tiene que
And the one
soportar
who's destroying
su
this
alimento
ecosystem
débil.
is not our
No
brother or
es
sister.
nuestras
It's
pequeñas
not
comunidades que
our
están
small
buscando
communities that are trying to make something to improve their territories their living
corporaciones que
conditions.
contaminan
It is the
todos los
major
días.
contaminations that
Corporaciones
pollute
como
every
es el
day.
1% del mundo que tiene el
1%
poder en
of the
sus
world that
manos.
has the power
El
in their
complejo
hands.
médico industrial,
The
el
medical
complejo
industrial complex,
armamentista,
the
el
armed
complejo
complex, the
agrotecnológico industrial,
agrotechnological
el
industrial
complejo
complex,
fármacoquímico,
the
son amigos,
pharmacochemist
amigas y
complex
asociados
are
a ellos de
friends
los
and
gobiernos que ni
associated.
la
They don't
salud ni la
care
vida de los
for
territorios,
health
que
or the
se
life of the
interesan en el libre
territories.
mercado.
They're only
Es
interested in
desde ahí
profit and market.
que necesitamos realmente ser
And from
firmes
there,
en la
we need
lucha
to be
anticapitalismo,
firm in the fight against
antiimperialista en favor de la
capitalism
vida.
and
Y es
against
eso lo que queremos
imperialism. And
remarcar
this is
nosotros
what
en
we
esta
want to
Conjunta
highlight
Nacional de
from
los
our World
Humanos en
Assembly
esta
of the Health of the
intervención.
Peoples
Volver a recordar
to
que nuestras
remind
vidas no
us
solo no
that
tienen
our
precio,
lives
somos
don't have
criaturas
a
que hemos
price.
nacido con
We
un
are
don, que hemos
creatures that
nacido con
we
la fuerza
live
que
with
cargamos de nuestros
strength
pueblos, de
that
nuestros
we bring from
territorios.
our
Y aunque
territory
no
and our
hayas nacido
peoples.
en una
And
comunidad
although you're
indígena,
not born
tu
in an
corazón te está
indigenous
llamando, porque necesitas
community, your
buscar
heart
lo que
is
el mundo
calling
te
you.
está llamando.
Common sense
Buscar
is calling
nuevamente el
you
alimento como
to
medicina,
look food
hacer
as
sociedades de
medicine, to do
colaboración, no de
societies of
capitalismo,
collaboration and not
buscar valorarnos, de
competence.
cuidarnos, más allá
Care
de
of
esos
ourselves
sentimientos
beyond those
individualistas,
individual
egoístas,
feelings,
egocéntricos, incluso que
egocentric.
se ha visto dentro de algunos
And that
sectores de
even we've
medicina
seen in some
tradicional
sectors
esto
of
de
traditional
comercializar
medicine is
supuestos dones,
commercialization of
especialmente
the
la medicina con
shamans
los saberes. No se
that
trata de
are
eso,
trafficking
de
with
la medicina ancestral que se está
knowledge.
mercantilizando y además
And this is
depredando tierras
also
sagradas. No,
getting,
estamos mal desde esa lógica.
we are
La
not
lógica capitalista
acting correctly,
depredadora
that the
impone
predator
esas egolatrías
capitalistic
porque es
logic
más
that imposes
poderoso.
those
Y esto
ecologies who's
absurdo
more
no deja de
powerful than
ser
who
la
is
colonización
an
e
absurd,
el
and it is a
individualismo que
colonization and
internalizamos
individualisms
dentro de
that are
estas
internalized
propias personas. Por lo
in
mismo,
these people.
ir hacia una idea de ser
So
comunidad
go
es
towards an idea of
revolucionario.
being a
Ir
community
hacia una idea
of
de volver a
revolution, going to an
recordar
idea
que el
of
cuidar del
reminding
otro es
us
cuidar de
that
mí
taking care
es
of the
ser
other is taking care of
revolucionario.
myself
Y
is be a
para cerrar este
revolutionary.
punto, otro
And to
capítulo
close this topic,
de
another
oeste brasilero. El poeta
song.
Railima, con Brasil hemos trabajado varios años en
We
distintos
worked several
eventos
years with
y
this colleague from Brazil, and it says,
dice, escucha, acoge, el
"Listen,
otro, otra ya
the other
viene.
one is coming.
Escucha,
Listen
acoge,
and
cuidar
receive
de
and
otro
take care of
hace
the other makes
desde el
good."
día en que yo nací
From the
y
time I
cuando
was
en mi
born,
rayo
and then while I
alumbró.
was a girl, I
Cuidar del
learned
otro es
to
cuidar
take
de
care of the
mí.
other is to take care of
Cuidar de mí
myself.
es
To
cuidar
take care
del
of me is to
mundo.
take care of the
Cuidar
world.
del otro es cuidar de
Take
mí.
care of the other is
Cuidar
to
de
take
mí
care of
es cuidar del
myself, and to take care of
mundo.
myself is to
Así
take
que
care of the
pasa por
world.
ahí, no tenemos recetas, solamente
So we don't
reflexiones y
have
una
recipes,
invitación
only
a
reflections
sumarse a
and an
nosotros.
invitations.
Súmense a seguir
Join us.
luchando por la salud
Join us to
popular. No es
continue
fácil
for popular
porque son
health.
muchos ataques de
It's
distintos
not easy.
lugares,
There's several
porque
attacks from
no les
different
interesa
places
al mercado
because they are
capitalista que
not,
tiene todo el
the
poder, no
capitalistic
les
market
interesa
is
que
not
tengamos salud en
interested
nuestras
in
manos.
having
Sin
health in
embargo,
our
nosotros
hands.
los pueblos luchamos para eso,
And
que
we're
la salud esté
struggling
nuevamente en manos
for
del
that
pueblo.
too, so
Gracias.
that the health is once again in the hands of
Gracias,
people.
querida vivientes.
Thank you,
Comenzamos cantando
Bertita.
con la Madre Tierra. Qué
We
bonito,
heard you
¿verdad que
singing.
sí?
It was very nice.
Adelante, querido Román, por
Go
favor.
ahead, dear Roman.
Gracias,
Thank you,
Bertaluz.
Berta
Tú
Luz.
hiciste una primera
I think that
pregunta
there is a first
cuando
question
interveniste en el sentido
when you
de
indicated that
cómo proveernos de los
how to
alimentos
provide
de manera
for us
sostenible
for food in a
sin
sustainable way. We do
un modelo
propose, we did
de
propose
crecimiento
a
limitado,
limited growth model,
entendiendo que las necesidades
understanding that
humanas no
the
solo en
human
alimentos,
needs, not
sino
only in terms of
en
food,
áreas
but
materiales,
other
en
material
aspectos
needs in
de acceso a
health
servicios
and
básicos, por
access to
ejemplo,
health,
de acceso al agua,
of have access to water, housing,
de recreación,
education,
etcétera,
recreation, etc.
o no existen para muchos pueblos
Either they don't
indígenas
exist for many
o
peoples
se distribuyen de modo
or are
proporcional.
being
Es decir,
distributed in a very
pues
unequal
hay
form.
una
So
tesis
there
que
is
nos dice,
a
si queremos
idea that tells
proteger
us
la
that
madre
if we
tierra,
want to protect
debemos
Mother Earth,
propiciar el
we need
decrecimiento.
to propose
Y
the
esa tesis,
economic,
en nuestro juicio,
stop economic growth.
es cierta,
And that's
incluso para
true,
un modelo ecosocialista. No
even for
podría
an
llamarnos
eco-socialist model,
modelos
because we
socialistas
have
en
gone
impactos
through
negativos en la naturaleza,
socialistic
el de los
models
socialismos
in with very bad results in some
ecologistas
occasions
hasta los años 90
that we've learned
del siglo
until the 90s of the past century.
La idea del
So
decrecimiento,
the idea
porque de
of
otro modo no es
decreasing
de otro
the
modo seguimos
development,
destruyendo
otherwise we will
recursos
continue destroying
naturales, incluidas
the
las
nature's
especies
resources, including the
recursos que
human being,
olvidamos en ese
which is
sentido
a
a través de
resource.
la
We see it in that sense in
a
terms of
través
nature,
de su explotación y sobreexplotación,
with
como
the
se da
exploitation
en
and
la
overexploitation
globalización
like we see in peripheral countries
del capitalismo global.
of global
Esa es la
capitalism.
realidad. En las
That
nuevas
is
lógicas
a
de las
reality. In the new
transnacionales
logics
hay
of
una
transnational
sobreexplotación
companies,
a
there's an
los trabajadores y trabajadoras
exploitation of
de los
workers,
países que pudiéramos llamar
countries that we could
periféricos, no
call peripheral,
céntricos,
not
no
central,
pertenecientes a los
who
grandes
do not
índices
belong to the rich
pero la
countries.
distribución de las necesidades en términos de
Distribution
su
of needs
satisfacción
in
es
terms
desigual.
of
Por tanto, la
satisfaction
propuesta
is
de
unequal.
crecimiento
So
no
the
sería la misma
proposal
para los
of growth
países
could not be the same for
eh,
capitalistic, rich
imperiales del norte
imperial
global
countries of the global north
y los países del sur global.
and countries of the global
Dentro de
south.
los países del sur
And
global,
among the
la
global
satisfacción de
south
necesidades
global countries, the
varía
satisfaction of
entre
need is not the same
clases y sectores
between
sociales
the
de
classes and
ricos,
social sectors
poderosos,
that are rich
aliados
and powerful
a las
and
élites y a
allied
las
to the
grandes, grandes
elites
potencias
and
capitalistas
transnational capitalistic
con
of the
respecto
world.
a los campesinos
That with regards to
y
the
a los
farmers
trabajadores
and
en general,
indigenous
a
women
los
that are
trabajadores en
exploited
general.
and
Todo esto
workers in
hay que
general.
mirar la idea
So
del
we need to look at the
decrecimiento
idea of
como una lógica
decrease
del nuevo
of
modelo.
development as a logic with a new model, but with a different emphasis because the wealth of the global north has been built at the expense of global south through pillage, as we all know. We maintain an imperial lifestyle that should be limited, that has been built through the death of living beings of the earth and the exploitation and pillage of human beings.
No renunciamos
So
a que las
we
necesidades
we
humanas sean satisfechas.
we need
por
to
los modos
satisfy
de
human
producción
needs to be
para
satisfied, but they
lograrlas
have
y
to be controlled
equitativamente distribuidas.
and
Ese es el primer planteamiento.
equitably
En
distributed.
segundo lugar, la
In
pregunta sería
second
la
place,
siguiente.
a question that
¿Cómo
says
lograr soberanía
how to achieve
financiera?
financial
Yo creo
sovereignty.
que un reconocimiento
I
que se ha
think
hecho
that's one
es que
recognition that's been
el
done
capital
is that
financiero
financial
ha dejado
capital
de ser un capital de
that
soporte
being a
de los
support
procesos de producción
capital for
y
the
se ha
process of
convertido
production and has
en capital
become
especulativo, no productivo,
speculative,
que genera
non-productive
enormes
capital
riquezas
that
a los que
generates
especulan
large
con los
wealth to those
procesos
who speculate
financieros.
with financial
Y en
process.
segundo lugar, el
And
capital
secondly,
financiero se ha hecho
financial capital has
propietario
become
de empresas
owners of transnational
transnacionales
companies
que tienen que
of
ver
all types
con la
to do
depredación y la
with the
generación de la crisis financiera
generation
que
of
vivimos.
economic crisis.
Veamos unos
And
pocos ejemplos.
let's see a few
Hoy
examples.
el sistema
Today,
alimentario
food
está en
system
manos de
is in
compañías
the hands of
transnacionales cuyos
transnational companies
propietarios son fundamentalmente
whose owners
grandes
are
empresas de capital financiero.
major
Esa es la realidad.
companies
Compran
and
no
has
solo los suelos
buy
en
not only
cualquier
the
parte del mundo,
land
cualquier
or the
parte,
soil
despojando a los campesinos de ellos,
by
sin
removing the
sin
farmers from their land,
los
but
propietarios
also they
de
own
semillas, de fertilizantes, de
seeds,
pesticidas que
fertilizers,
depredan
and
la vida
pesticides
en el
that
planeta Tierra.
predate the
Y al
life in the
mismo
planet,
tiempo,
but at the
son
same time
además los
are also
propietarios de
the
procesos de
owners
monocultivo,
of
que son
monoculture
generadores de
process
estas dinámicas de liquidación de la vida en el
that
planeta Tierra.
liquidate
Todo eso
the
controla
dynamics
todo
going to
tipo
liquidate the
de
life in the earth. So I think there are examples
que está reclamando el movimiento de soberanía alimentaria y agroecológico en
with
conjunción con él
agroecological
es
movement
que los procesos de producción de
and the
alimentos estén en
food
manos de
production
las
process are
comunidades
in the hands
campesinas,
of
de los
farmers,
indígenas,
communities, and the indigenous
de las comunidades
and
de
the
toda la vida. Esa es la
communities
realidad.
that have
Que
fed us
regrese
all our
la
lives.
biodiversidad
The
a los
biodiversity
procesos
should be
económicos en manos
sent back to
de
the
los campesinos. Que
hands
la
of the
pesca, por
farmers.
ejemplo, esté en
Fishing,
manos
for example,
de los
is
pescadores
in the
y no en
hands
manos
of
de las
fishermen
transnacionales
and
que
not in the hands of
destruyen la
transnationals
riqueza
that
en el mar y
destroy
en
the
los
life
océanos en
wealth
materia
of
de
the
peces
oceans in
y en los
terms of
montores, etc.
fish and
Esos
other
son
animals.
reclamos y procesos
These are processes that we see in our peoples. And if we go to the health sector, we have the same. The insurance companies are insuring the financial capital, but
de servicios de
also
salud
the health providers are in the hands of transnational and multinational companies, and behind that we have the financial capital, like we see with the movement of capital investment of US companies towards our country in Latin America. So we need transformation of these health systems that allocate public resources and social security in the hands of the state and through the state in the hands of the communities. Our current proposals and our life experiences in our countries. We need to continue fighting for that. And finally, the issue of governance. I think this is a core issue because they, World Trade Organization, doesn't follow the needs of productions and technologies in health, such as vaccines for the peoples, instead of the large transnational. And we've seen that through the COVID experience, how the vaccines and the patents were controlled by the World Trade Organization in benefit of the large transnationals of the pharmaceutical industry. We do have the possibility of producing health technologies in us, like vaccines, like Cuba has been doing, and Brazil is trying for Latin America. It's possible to have different global governance in the Organization of World Trade. But you also see that in World Health Organization, unfortunately, WHO, that was following the philanthropicalism that has been identified, has stopped orienting their policies and actions in health in the benefit of the peoples. And they have all under the pressure of large transnational. So the governance in the hands of what we all call the large number of stakeholders whose interests not to satisfy the needs of the people, but it is feasible to democratize global governance in all these institutions that have to do with health, or to change the existing institutionality under the frame of a new economic and political order at the international level that should be a reality in the current world as it was proposed in the 70s, but with the new circumstances of the current world, and WHO would follow.
Muchas gracias
Thank
por la
you
manera tan
for
detallada y
the
amplia de dar
detail in
respuestas a las
providing
preguntas.
response to our
Han
questions.
llegado otras preguntas. Voy
We
a
have
leer
other
solamente
questions. I'm going to
dos
read
de ellas.
two of them,
Una para Vivi y otra
one
para
for Vivi
Román.
and the other one
Y
for Roman,
voy a dar respuesta a una
and
de
I'm
ellas.
going to respond one of them.
La primera pregunta para
The
Vivi
first question for
es,
Vivi is
¿cómo fortalecer
how
la
to
identidad
strengthen
y
the
pertenencia de
identity
nuestros jóvenes, que
and
sufren una constante
of young people
alienación
who
comunicacional,
are having
comercial y de un
bad
ciudadano
influences from communication.
global? Y para Román,
And for Roman,
nos preguntan, sé que ya
they,
lo han abordado
I know
en
you've already talked about
las
it
explicaciones, en las ponencias que
during your
realizaron. No
presentations,
obstante, me parece importante
but I think it
retomar
is
esta
important
pregunta que la
to
hace uno de
retake
los
this
asistentes
question
y dice, ¿se están logrando
that are,
sinergias
are you achieving
políticas
synergies
entre estas
between
organizaciones
politicians,
de la
activists,
sociedad civil,
and civil
instituciones
society
académicas
organizations
para
and
la
academic
protección del medio
institutions
ambiente?
to protect
¿Cuáles
the
son los
environment?
principales
And
retos?
what are the main
Adelante.
challenges? Go ahead, please.
Muchas gracias. Realmente qué
Thank you.
importante reflexionar juntos sobre estos
Important to
temas.
reflect together on
Bueno, respecto
the
a nuestra
topics
identidad,
with regards our cultural
tenemos todavía
identity.
unas sociedades y un
We
sistema de
still have a
educación
society
alienante
that
e
has an
intolerante.
alienating
Se está luchando mucho por la interculturalidad,
education
pero quizás
system.
esta no
We
sea
are
todavía
fighting for
entendida o no está todavía
interculturality, but it's usually
implementada.
not fully
Aún así,
understood or
aún
implemented.
así,
But despite that,
reconocemos indígenas
to recognize as indigenous going through these levels is part of our cultural resistance. When we were in Manaus in a midwife meeting 5 years ago, with meeting with a midwife from Brazil, I met some wonderful indigenous sisters from the Insiquira group. And from this Insiquira group,
Se le cayó la conexión a Vivi.
we lost the connection, apparently. Please stand by.
reúnen en la universidad y siguen luchando.
There's
Para
continued struggling.
apartadas de los espacios de conocimiento, seguimos todavía
We
sufriendo el machismo y el
continue
patriarcado sobre
suffering
nuestros cuerpos y
machismo
nuestras
on our
vidas.
bodies
Y nuestro acceso al
and
conocimiento.
our access to
No solo
knowledge.
eso, sino hay que
And not
recordar
only that, but we need
cómo
to
incluso
remember
nuestras abuelas y abuelos,
how our
cómo ellos eran
grandparents,
prohibidos de
they were
aprender,
banned
a leer y escribir.
to
El tiempo de
read
los
and
abuelos,
write,
pues, se les castigaba, incluso
and
si
they
hablaban
were
español, se
punished
cortaba
if
la
you
lengua.
spoke your language,
Cuando hablo
local
quechua,
language, they will
no
cut your
quechua
tongue.
cani, no gasuti vivi camacho, yo me reconozco como quechua con mi
I
nombre,
recognize
porque
myself as
ese
Quechua
ya
with
es
my
una
name and my people.
reivindicación y una resistencia
That
cultural.
is a
En
cultural
cambio, hay
resistance.
gente que
But
todavía
we
tiene
also have people
el prejuicio, todavía
who
tenemos
have
tanto
this
prejuicio racista
prejudice,
contra nuestros pueblos,
racist
enjuician a
prejudice
quienes hemos
against our people.
ingresado a la academia. Más bien es tiempo de que la
So
academia
it is
nos
time that
reconozca
the
y de que
academia
ahí también
recognizes
tenemos que
us,
hacer esta lucha
and
por la
there we need
justicia
to make
epistémica.
this
El tema de la
fight for the
identidad es
epistemic
básico porque
justice.
reconocerte quién eres
Identity
y
means
de
to
quién vienes,
recognize
cuáles son
who
tus
you are, where you
raíces.
come from, what are
Y
your
aquí
roots.
tenemos grandes
And
hermanos
here
que han
we
luchado
have
por la educación de
brothers who
nuestros
have
pueblos.
fight for the
Elisario Pérez y
education
Abelino
in our
Ciani,
people.
aquí en Bolivia, la
Elisario
escuela
Perez
Warisata. Entonces,
with
ya nuestros
Warisata
abuelos
School.
y abuelas sabían que
So our
esta
grandparents
educación
knew
también
that
es
this
una
education is
herramienta
another
donde
type
vamos a
of
tener que
tool,
defender nuestros
and we're going to
derechos
have to
y para
defend
hacer
our
nuevas
rights
propuestas
and
de
to make
mundo,
new
nuevas propuestas de
proposals to the
pensamiento
world, new
desde nosotros,
thought
pero desde
proposals
la
from
dignidad de
us,
la
but
justicia
also
social
from
en
the dignity and social
el
justice
territorio campesino, por
in
ejemplo,
the
que nuestros niños y
farmers'
niñas puedan
territory,
estar
that our boys and
orgullosos e
girls
hijos
grow
de ser
proud
hijos, hijas de
of being
campesinos indígenas,
children
pero que
of
tengan
indigenous
acceso
farmers,
correspondiente
but that
a la
also
sociedad,
have
a la
access to
educación,
health,
que puedan acceder a una
education,
educación
that they
superior.
have access to
Imagínense
higher
ser
education,
orgulloso, un
to
científico
be
que ha salido del
proud to
campo
have
para
a
regresar al
scientist
campo
from the
justamente
field that goes
con la
back to the
ciencia
field
moderna a
with modern
conciliar el
science
diálogo con la ciencia
in
ancestral.
dialogue with
Estamos avanzando en ese
Western
diálogo
science
interseccional.
with ancestral
Así que
science.
más, como dicen nuestros
So,
hermanos y
as
hermanas
our
en distintos
sisters and
encuentros que
brothers
hemos estado,
says
por ejemplo,
in different
en el
meetings,
Guatunacu, la ceremonia de las semillas desde hace
in
varios
the
años,
ceremony of the seeds,
encariñarnos con
to
quiénes somos,
fall in
de
love
dónde
to
venimos,
with who
nuestra
we are,
historia.
where we
No es
come,
desde
with
el
our
odio y el
history,
resentimiento que vamos a
not with
transformar algo. Es
hate
más
and
bien
resentment that we
mirar
will
con amor
transform.
a
We
todos
have
y
to look
todas
with
quienes
love
han
to
hecho el
everyone
esfuerzo
who have
para que
made the
yo pueda
effort
sobrevivir,
so
para
I
que
can
yo pueda
survive,
vivir.
so I
Cuando
can
yo hablo
live.
de medicina
When
tradicional,
I
estoy
talk about
honrando a
traditional
todos y
medicine,
todas
I'm
quienes han
honoring
dejado sus
everyone who
vidas
have
siendo
given their
perseguidos,
lives, being
siendo estigmatizados,
persecuted and
por ejerciendo
stigmatized
idolatrías, por la Inquisición,
by the
aquellas sabias
Inquisition,
mujeres, parteras,
those
curanderas, tejedoras, por
midwives
brujas, les
who,
decían
because
cuando eran
they were
grandes
called
sabios y
witches when they
conocedores.
were wise
Entonces
persons.
estamos en un tiempo de
So
reivindicar
we are in the
nuestras
type of
identidades desde nuestra memoria
promoting our
histórica. De
identities.
otra manera, posiblemente perdamos el
Otherwise,
horizonte
perhaps we
y
will
la
lose the
colonia tome nuestras
horizon
mentes y
and the
nuestros
colony takes
corazones.
our minds
Pero
and
es
heart.
tiempo ya de
That it is
reencontrarnos
a time
con esa
to
fuerza de la
meet
que
again
venimos,
with that
más allá de
strength, that
solamente
where
por
we
el
come
lugar de nacimiento o
beyond
del
the
color de la piel
place of
o de la
birth of the
lengua,
color of the
sino
skin
por
or the language,
recordar nuevamente,
to
somos de la
remember
vida,
again that we
somos a
are from
causa
the
de
life
la Sagrada
with the
Madre Vida. Gracias, Bertita.
Muchas gracias, querida Vivi. Adelante,
Thank you.
Román, por
Go
favor.
ahead, Roman.
Gracias, Berta.
Thank
Yo
you.
creo que
Think that
observamos una tendencia
we see a trend
una nueva
to
convergencia, una
a
nueva
new
forma de converger
convergence or form of convergence
entre movimientos sociales,
between social
entre los
movements,
cuales hay muchas
where
expresiones
we
de
have many
sociedad civil,
expressions of civil society,
comunidades,
communities,
entre los procesos, algunos procesos
with some of
académicos,
the
conocimiento
academic
experto, si lo queremos llamar así, pero
process,
también de saberes
but also
populares, de
popular
saberes
knowledge,
ancestrales
Western
y
knowledge,
y de procesos, fuerzas
and processes and strength from political institutions. I think that we are currently in that scenario, and we are there because the challenge greater than the action, the separate action of each one of these processes to fight against the powers that create the economic crisis is to create an alternative power to make a world sustainable and to maintain a life in the planet. I would like to give a few examples so we can see how this is being built. There is a major process. The farmers' path, one of the strongest movement that we know today, and it's not just an action of the farmers, but it coordinates autonomous dynamic support dynamics and other social movements. We, for example, have a strategic agreement with the farmers to defend the food sovereignty and health. And next year, we are going to organize a world meeting in India in terms of this process of defending the food sovereignty. It's a global call of academic sector, activists, and different processes. Also, in Latin America, we are actively seeing the dynamic of convergence of the movements of the people with the movements of social and solidarity economy with the indigenous and farmers movement, because we work together. For example of Colombia to defend the forest in the Macarena region or the Amazon region in terms of water, the depredation of natural resources by transnational corporations implies a dialogue of practices and knowledge of farmers' practices, indigenous knowledge, and this march together. In Latin America, we are proposing the construction of the University of the Good Living. This is an interesting proposal. The University of Good Living will not be exclusively of indigenous knowledge. It will be a university of dialogue of knowledge for good living among different forces and different processes. ELA, the movement of solidarity, the economy, the movement of health of the people, etc. And that is being built because it's been possible for us to identify in central strategic areas like the defense of Mother Earth. It's clearly stated. In other parts of the world, these dynamics are also making progress in different areas. Last year, we went to Chile in a meeting for defending public services against privatization, and this was a global meeting in different processes and organizations. So there is a process in the world that are very strong. But, well, we can say that the progress is in left movement, but there with some evaluation because there's some contradictions there too in identifying what are the processes that we need to defend and sustain so it is possible to defend our Mother Earth and defend life and the recovery of harmony and balanced relationships between human activities and that of the life in nature. This process that we're going through, there's debates, discussions, but there are agreements that are becoming more clear to the extent that we learn from the experiences that we've lived, and we recognize that we need to overcome some limitations in defending the Mother Earth. I'm very optimistic and very enthusiastic that this convergence dynamics, including sciences, that plays a fundamental role by pointing out the threats that we are facing and to propose the need to control the process that would trigger them, including the scientists is a dynamic general that we are living at this moment, and that perhaps express the hope and the optimism and the inspiration that we saw under this fifth assembly of the health of the people. We saw that convergence beyond of what I have proposed. We still need to study and recognize of what this fifth assembly taught us in Mar del Plata.
Sí, qué interesante los
Very
resultados
interesting
tan
these
significativos de
results,
nuestra
so
asamblea.
significance of the fifth
Muchas
assembly.
gracias. No sé
Thank
si
you very
hay
much.
otras preguntas. Yo
We have
solamente
other
quisiera
questions.
retomar una de
I'm
ellas.
just going to
¿Cuál es
consider
la
one.
triple crisis
What
que
is the
afecta a nuestro
triple crisis
planeta
that
Tierra?
affects
Les
our
hemos
planet Earth?
compartido
We
un
have
enlace con
shared
una
a
publicación
link
que se llama
with
Hacer
a
las
publication
paces con
called
la
Hacer
naturaleza,
las paces
que
con
nos
la
habla
naturaleza,
de
Make
una
peace with
crisis
nature,
de cambio
that tells us
climático,
about the
pérdida de
crisis of climate
biodiversidad
change and
y
loss of the
también por todos los
biodiversity,
desechos que
and also
generamos los
for all the
seres
waste
humanos.
that we
El
human beings
organismo mundial
develop.
de salud
In the Indian Health
habla de la
Organization, when we
crisis
talk
planetaria,
about the
también
planet
hacemos
crisis,
mucho
we
énfasis en
also
las
make emphasis
desigualdades.
in
Me
inequalities.
encuentro en el foro
I'm
de los países de
participating in
América
the
Latina
Forum of the Latin
sobre
American
desarrollo
countries about
sostenible. En
sustainable
este foro
development.
hemos
And
presentado
in
el
this
trabajo que
forum,
el organismo
we have
andino de salud
presented
está
the work
haciendo
that
para
our
enfrentar el
institution
cambio
is doing to
climático
face
con uno
climate
de los
change
comités andinos
with one
de
of the Andean committees
fortalezas
of
y cambio climático,
management of
conformado por
disasters and climate
delegados de los
change
6
made up by
países
delegates
andinos.
from the
Y la
6
pregunta
Andean
resalta
countries.
hoy sobre
In
los
today's
niveles
roundtable
de
about the
sostenibilidad de acción por el clima
SDG in action
presentados.
for
Hablamos de
climate, we
relaciones con
talk
la
about
mesa
what we do with the
intersectorial de
intersectoral
transformación contra
roundtable
las
of
desigualdades sociales.
consultation against inequalities in
Agradecemos
health.
todas las preguntas
Thanks for all the
realizadas y
questions.
valoramos mucho su
We value your
participación e interés.
participation and
Para
interest.
cerrar este
To
espacio,
close this
les pido por
space, I
favor
will ask you,
a Vivi y a Román que
Vivi
nos
and
digan un
Roman, to
mensaje
leave us
final
one
en un
final
minuto.
message in 1 minute.
Ya, ese es el tiempo récord. Siempre
Well,
gracias.
yes,
Gracias,
thank you
Bertita.
very
Qué
much. Thank you,
alegría,
Bertita.
qué honor seguir adelante
It's
con
an
el Organismo
honor
Andino de Salud.
to
Ya
work
unos
with the
varios
Andean
años.
Health
Muchas de ellos
Organization for
de
some
la
years
mano con
now,
nuestro Movimiento Mundial
and
de Salud.
together
Hace
with
ya
a
15
world
15 años
movement for
caminando
the health of
y
the
en ese
people.
camino pues
And
hemos
in
sido
that
parte de la
15
tercera
years,
Asamblea
and being
Mundial y de
part
la
of the
segunda Asamblea Mundial.
third and
Ha sido
fifth
lindo.
World Assembly has been
Y
wonderful.
esta cancioncita para
And
reconocer
there's
precisamente
another
por los
song
afrodescendientes que también han estado. África ha estado
for
muy
the
fuerte
Afro-descendant
en Sudáfrica el 2012
peoples.
y ahora. Por la belleza, la emoción.
And
Es por la belleza
for
de
the
cada
beauty
día,
of each
yo te
morning,
saludo, Madre
I
mía
greet
santa,
you,
por la
Mother,
grandeza de las
for the
olas del
greatness
mar.
of the
Tú me
waves of
bendices,
the ocean.
Virgen
You
bella,
bless me,
porque Mar del
Mother
Plata nos ha
Earth,
recibido, porque
because
nuestra
Mar del
caminata, la
Plata
marcha ha sido
received us,
conmovedora
and
y hermosa.
the end of
Cómo
our march
África
was
también
very
ha
moving.
sido
How
convocada,
Africa was
nuestro
singing,
hermano
Asia,
vecino sur de
Europe,
las Américas.
North,
Volver a recordar que de todos
Central, and
lugares,
South
de todos
America,
territorios,
and
estamos aquí
remembering that from all
tomando
the
sabatianas
territories, we
en
are
estos
here
tiempos.
taking
Es el
care of
tiempo
our
en el que nos
time.
ha convocado,
This
es
is the
esta
time
historia
that
la que
has
nos ha
called
convocado.
us
Volver a recordar que
to
sí,
remember
literalmente,
that
en nuestras pequeñas manos
in our small
está la
hands,
fuerza
we have the
grande de
strength
todo aquello que nos ha
of
hecho
all
nacer.
that has made
Y
us
recordar la fuerza de
born,
lo
and to
pequeño
remember the
es
strength of
importante.
small is
Y nuestro
important.
movimiento nos tomamos las
In our
manos y
movement, we
recordamos
take our hands
nuevamente
and
que
remember
somos juntos y
that
somos juntas.
we are
Gracias,
together.
gracias Román, gracias
Thank you,
Bertita.
Roman. Thank you
Tinkuna
very much.
Tamakachu.
Bueno, después de ese
Well,
mensaje de
after
Vivi,
that
lo único que
message
puedo
from
decir
Vivi,
es,
what I could
nos
just say
adherimos a él
is
con
we
todo. Pero
we
igual hay
join you,
que decir que
but we also have to
ha
say
renacido la
that
esperanza,
hope has
las fuentes
reborn.
de inspiración en la diversidad que
The
somos.
sources of inspiration
Nosotros
of
hemos
diversity that we
visto el
recognize.
peligro al que nos
The threat
enfrentamos
that we
y
are
es
facing
indudable que la
with
que
this
vivimos,
ecologic
pero
crisis
eso,
that we're living, but also we
como ha
recognize,
pasado en toda la
as
historia,
we've seen
no
throughout
podemos ser
history,
inferiores
we
a
will
los
not be
desafíos
inferior
que
to the
tenemos delante,
challenges that we have ahead.
diversos, pero unidos
Quite
en
diverse, but
misión
we're
de
diverse, but quite
protección
united in
de la
terms of
Madre Tierra,
protecting
de la
Mother Earth,
naturaleza de la que somos parte.
nature of which we are part.
Muchas gracias por estos
Thank you
mensajes tan
for
potentes,
these
tan significativos,
powerful
que
messages
sin duda alguna nos
that
llaman a la acción para
without doubt
transformar
it
el
calls
mundo.
us to action to
Reiteramos el
transform and to improve.
agradecimiento por las excelentes
We reiterate our thanks for excellent presentations today. We receive many congratulations in our social networks. Thank you very much, dear Vivi, Roman, to all the participants, to the Horas Conu team, and to all the people who participated in this activity, which has been possible thanks to the commitment with the Andean and Latin American integration. I give the floor to Dr. Marisela Malki, Deputy Secretary of the Health Organization, for closing this webinar. Go ahead, dear doctor.
Gracias, Bertita.
Thank you.
Bueno, empiezo
Well, I will start
expresando mi
by expressing
profundo
my
agradecimiento
deep
a Vivi, quien
thanks
siempre
to
está
Vivi,
muy
who
ligada
is
con todo,
always
siempre
linked to
colabora
our
con nuestro
institution
trabajo,
and always
siempre está
collaborates in other, in this and
agradecida
other
con nuestro
spaces,
trabajo.
is part of a working committee.
Nuestro agradecimiento también
Our
a
thanks
Román,
also to
que
Roman,
realmente pues a nosotros
who
nos motivaba a poner este
he
tema
always, we were motivated to
en
put this
agenda
topic in
y
agenda
conmemorar el Día
to
Internacional de la
celebrate
Madre
the
Tierra,
International
reconocer
Mother
a
Earth
la
Day
Tierra y sus
and to
ecosistemas
recognize that the Earth and their
como hogar común,
ecosystems
como
are a
dice el
common
doctor,
home, as it has been
es
mentioned,
necesario promover esa
and we need
armonía
to
con la
promote that
naturaleza que
harmony
lamentablemente
with
pues
nature
en
that
los últimos años
unfortunately in recent
vemos
times
que
we
estamos
see that
agrediéndola de
we
forma
are
individual, de forma
hurting it either
corporativa
individually or
a nivel
collectively.
nacional. Y han
And
reiterado que de la salud de
you've
estos
indicated that the
ecosistemas va a
health
depender
of these
la salud de
ecosystems,
todo nuestro
the,
planeta. Nos
the
habló
health of the
de
planet will
la
depend on.
salud para todos,
Dr. Roman
para
talk
salud
about
también
health for
holística de
everyone in
todos los seres
holistic
vivientes en la
terms,
Tierra.
every living being of the earth.
Lamentablemente nosotros ya venimos manejando también lo que es una salud.
In terms of
Esa
considering
línea
one
puede
health,
ser,
and that
nos han
effort
mencionado que en la
that
asamblea
you
se sienten
mentioned,
mucho más motivados,
that they
más
were
fortalecidos para
more motivated
reiterar
and
eso,
strengths
para
to
reafirmar
follow in this assembly to
esa
reaffirm
lucha, ese trabajo
that fight and that
para
effort
lograr esta armonía que acabamos de
to
mencionar.
achieve
En
that
esta ocasión hemos
harmony.
reflexionado
We have
sobre la
reflected
relevancia
on
de
the
estos
relevance
ecosistemas
of
para la
these
vida
ecosystems for
y
life,
la importancia
well-being,
de los conocimientos y las
importance
prácticas
of
ancestrales y
knowledge
populares,
and ancestral
precisamente
practices
en el cuidado de la madre tierra
in
y
precisely
las
taking care of Mother
transformaciones
Earth
urgentes que
and the
debemos
urgent
realizar
transformations that
en
we need
todo
to do
espacio
from
donde nos
all the
encontremos.
spaces where
Para el
we
Organismo Andino de Salud
are.
es una de las
From the Animal
líneas
Health
muy
Organization, this is
importantes
an important line
de labor. Tenemos un
of
comité de salud
effort. We
intercultural que
have a
promueve su
committee of
importancia,
intercultural
promueve el
health,
diálogo de
and we
saberes en
promote
diferentes
dialogue of knowledge
temáticas.
in
eh,
different
y
topics.
creo y estamos,
And I think, and
reafirmamos y estamos de acuerdo con todo
we agree
que se ha dicho
with
que
every
la
one of
salud
what's been
es
mentioned,
un derecho humano.
health as a human right
Especialmente la educación, porque la
and
salud
education,
y educación van a ayudarnos a mejorar
because they're
no
going to
solo nuestro
help
cuidado
us
personal,
not only for our
sino
personal care,
principalmente algo
but
que estamos
mostly for
olvidando, que es
something
la
that we
salud
are
de nuestra
forgetting,
madre
which is
tierra,
health
que
of
es
our Mother Earth,
importantísimo para
which is
tener
extremely
agua
important
limpia, aire
to have
limpio,
clean
sano,
water,
y que nuestras futuras
healthy life,
generaciones
clean air,
puedan
and the future
todos
generations
disfrutar donde vivir y
have a
poder
place
ser
where to
felices
live and be happy.
en adelante. Saludamos todo lo que han
We
analizado, han reflexionado, interpretado en
we
la asamblea
receive,
y efectivamente debemos
we should
converger de esos movimientos como la Madre
convergence
Tierra
with these
en
movements
un
of
gran
all
árbol
the
protegido. Creo que esas son
actions
las
and
principales enseñanzas que
following
nosotros
the assembly. And
debemos
I think that
no
these
solo
are the
quedarnos
most
con esas
important
enseñanzas y
learnings
reflexiones, sino ir a la acción
and move
que
that
cada
will
uno de
move us to
nosotros
action.
hará y
And
estamos
each one
seguros
of
de que
us
vamos a
present
alcanzar el
here are
éxito
going to do this
donde nos toca estar.
from where we need to be.
Reitero nuevamente el
Once again,
agradecimiento
thank
a cada
you
uno de ustedes
to
por
each one of you for your time,
compartir todos sus
for
conocimientos,
sharing
sus
your
experiencias,
knowledge, your
sus vivencias.
experiences, your
Y igualmente nuestro
and
agradecimiento a
we
Bertita,
also
que ha sido la
thank
organizadora
Bertita,
de,
who was the
y
organizer
coordinadora de este
and
importantísimo
coordinator of
evento,
this
a
important
Yadira,
event,
a
Yadira,
Milagros, a Robbie, a todos
Milagros,
los
Rob,
que nos acompañan
and
siempre,
all
nuestras
who are always with us,
colaboradoras,
the
Ruby también con las
Horas
preguntas que
Conu
siempre están
team, and
pendientes de
Ruby, which
realizar
is
todo,
also
de ser
dealing with the
excelentes.
Q&A.
Y nos vamos invitándolos para el
And we will
próximo
invite you
viernes
for the next
25 de abril,
Thursday, April
también
25,
con el objetivo de
also
conmemorar el Día
in
Mundial de la
celebrating
Seguridad en el Trabajo,
the
que es
World
el
Day of
28 de abril, y el Día
Labor Safe,
Internacional de los Trabajadores,
Work
que es el 22
Safety.
de mayo. Vamos a realizar otro
We're
webinar
going to celebrate another
viendo el
webinar,
panorama social de América
look at
Latina y
the
el Caribe,
social
la inclusión
landscape of
laboral como un
Latin
pilar clave
America,
para el desarrollo
labor
sostenible.
inclusion,
Los
for
esperamos
inclusive
por
development.
estos mismos
We'll see you in the same channel.
y nuevamente mi
Once
agradecimiento
again,
por estar
thank
con
you
ustedes.
to each one of
Hasta
you.
pronto.
See you soon.